again, thanks to Governor Yusuf for also deeming it fit to set aside some funds for relief for those who are involved. And I want to believe that many of them are properly aligned because it's a political season at the moment. So you can't take those out of some of this communication of why people should insure their shops, insure their houses, insure their wares, because it's important that incidences like this, we may say God forbid, but then, of course, here it is happening. If insurances are that, it will reduce the burden of government intervening, except where it is very devastating that the insurance company may not be able to take the responsibility. In that case, the state may even bail out the insurance company. But individuals must be encouraged. Fire policy should be something that in the marketplaces should be enforced even by government, and ensuring that everybody, the way we are checking whether they pay their lock-up shop and rates, that we be sure that their insurance certificates are valid for the shop, so that when these things happen, government will not need to bear the burden of bailout for the owner of shops. What they have saved over the years will be able to account for this kind of losses that may occur. I think that for me is what it is, that people value their trade very properly, insure it, and when these unforeseen circumstances happen, they are not left to struggle and not able to come back into business. That is for me what it is. Kano government has done well in intervention. We don't know the level of protection that these guys have, and we do hope that everybody really gets this relief.
We do hope everybody gets the relief, and not on political grounds. And like Doc said, I hope you are aligned well. Well,
either way, it benefits the people.
Yes, that definition, I think we'll get behind the cameras and find out who's aligning and who's not aligning well. Now, let's get straight to our next story, and this has to do with infrastructure and industrialization. A lot is coming out in this dispensation, and we will talk about it. Now, Southeast Commission, they are seeking 140 billion for 2026 expansion. Southeast Development Commission. You heard us right. Now, they are requesting legislative approval for 140 billion in 2026 budget, as it unveiled plans to grow the region into a $200 billion economy within the next decade. The next 10 years, 200 billion. Okay. Now, officials describe the proposal as a strategic push to accelerate infrastructure, industrialization, and regional competitiveness. Managing Director Mark Okoye disclosed this on Thursday during the Commission's budget defense before the Senate's Committee on Southeast Development Commissions in Abuja. He said the allocation will drive targeted investment across key growth sectors. The Commission noted that the 2026 proposal marks its real take-off phase after establishing foundational structures in the previous year. Okay, dear Doc, I think I want to start with you on this. Now, first we had a Niger Delta Development Commission, then we had a North Central Development Commission, then the Development Commission decided to go to all regions. Dear Doc, if you are starting a business with somebody, be it to develop something, build something, sell something, should there not be timelines and telling the person this is what you can deliver? Should we be calling every of these commission heads, including ministers, and ask them directly, as you are dropping this budget, it's not just for capital expenditure or recurrent expenditure. Tell us what you are bringing to the table, what we can give you. And if you cannot get this done, leave, let somebody else try. Have we not gotten to that dispensation yet?
Well, first and foremost is for me to just join voices with the Northeast, the Southeast Development Commission. I still feel that figure is low, given where we are and the potential that we have in the Southeast for industrialization. Government need to prioritize the Southeast, because when you see what is happening in Abia State, for example, the people need a lot of governmental support, and I think if we think properly and we can align policy, the Southeast can become the China of Africa, because the potentials are heavy and we must find a way to leverage it. Also appealing to the people who are currently managing the commission to ensure that this fund, as they come in, they are not going just into overhead, that the basic structures that need to be in place, that we set them in place. The clothing market in Aba is massive. The shoe market is massive. We can beat Italy to the supply of shoes if we have the necessary infrastructure put in place in Nigeria. Just imagine that all we will be selling is just good belt, good shoes, good suits, and we are shipping everywhere to the world. Nobody will beat us to it. Most of the design that are coming from China, they actually are something that are designed here in Nigeria. And if we have the facility that can help us produce, we don't need to go to China. We can settle that with Aba, and that will create multiple employment in Nigeria. So I appeal to the Appropriation Committee to look with compassion to this request of appropriately funding the Northeast Development Commission for industrialization. And that, for me, will make a lot of sense, and it will be a game changer for the Nigerian state, because once you empower the Southeast Development Commission and they are able to put infrastructure in place that individual cannot, and all people just need to do is to produce their mold and go to the factory and produce things in commercial quantity, we can ship to African countries, and of course Nigeria will get off the wood as quickly as possible. I think that is my immediate submission here. But this money should not get into over costs, maybe cost of going to training or paying salary. It should go directly in importing very, very sensitive equipment that can produce good shoes, produce good clothes, and this, of course, will transform our economy majorly, in my view.
Okay. Are you in sync with Doc?
Well, I picked one thing that I would like to say. Doc said we can beat Italy in leather. We will have to stop the consumption of pomo, which they've also called Nigerians to, try and reduce the consumption of pomo, because that is what is stifling the leather industry in Nigeria. So, but it's a good figure here, but I think we can do more than this. 200 billion. We can do
200 billion in 10 years. That is my own. That is too small.
That's what I'm saying.
If you are asking for, this is what you're asking for, a start, but your projection is 200 billion.
So, which of the sectors are you planning?
Specifics.
The specifics. It says here road parks and all that. What about production? I think production is something. We saw in the news this morning, 2 people were docked for about 2 billion or thereabout from the railway.
3 people to be
3 people. Yes. And I was saying that, so this is the kind of money we can generate from just road. Rail. So these are where the investment should go. I'm not saying that they should not be given this amount. I'm saying, how would this money be converted into profit?
What infrastructure can they drop for the
can,
people to use and get into production?
Yes.
Okay.
And I
you
think
almost said
it's transportation. Transportation.
Transportation should go to the states. States should handle transportation. So
what would they handle? Because I was also, not to be the devil's advocate or not to play the devil's advocate, I'm thinking that if a particular commission, Southeast Commission, what about the state? What is the state doing?
Okay. Now, the federal government on its own, it's on top of their game to make sure they oil and light the fire for industrialization and also development of different regions. And that is why they have been allowed a lot of these commissions to even come up in the first place.
Yes.
And if they say we are going to fund this, my take is let's know for a certain that this funds from the federal government, just like Doc said, it's not going to overhead, it's not going to recurrent expenditure, it's not going to travel seminars, it's going to building infrastructure that will propel production.
Yes.
And let them also come out and tell us directly, specifically, just like you said, this is where we are putting the money to, this is what we are expecting. If we fail after 4 or 5 years, no, after 2 years, sack us.
Good. Let's have transparency. Let's have audit. Let's not have the repeat of what happened with the NDDC and the whole fainting saga during the panel and all that. So let's have a bit of transparency.
Okay.
Where's the money going to? Specific. I think before this money should be disbursed, there should be some form of panel set up.
They are there already. They've gone to the
Tell
national.
us,
They've gone to
how much
the
are
national
you
assembly.
projecting the first year? Since it's 10 years, very good. The first year, or let's start with 2 years. The first 2 years, how much? The first, then 4 years, then 5 years, then 7 years, then 10 years. And
Well, I think everybody should make a proposal based on your tenure. Don't propose beyond your tenure.
there's government continuum.
Yes.
So whether you are there or not,
I agree.
they are saying
Let
10
the
years.
commission have their template.
Okay.
But each person.
So
give
after
us-
4 years,
give
whatever
us-
happens after 4
No,
years.
this is the commission's template. We have a 20-year template commission. But for my tenure, this is what I will achieve within this template.
And then let's reduce it to 4 years then.
Okay. To everyone out there, I want to say thank you very much. Remember, this belongs to us. This belongs to you. I'm talking about this particular program and this station. So, hey, go on the social media platforms and follow us. Share. We can't stop saying it. Share. That is when we will reach more people and be able to contribute more to their business and the development of our nation together. Now, let's talk about food inflation. Benue, Kogi, now they are facing higher food inflation despite the decline. Now, as the federal government highlights easing economic pressures with headline inflation at 15.1%, residents of Benue and Kogi states face harsher reality marked by rising food costs. Analysts are saying that the national average marks sharp regional disparity. An 18.15% gap separates the state with the highest food inflation from the lowest. Kogi records 19.84%, while Benue, often described as the food basket of the nation, follows at 18.38%. Now, in contrast, Ebonyi posts just 1.69%, reflecting significantly lower food price pressures. Now, economics warn that uneven inflation trends could deepen regional inequality, strain household incomes, and complicate policy responses, despite broader signals suggesting moderating national price growth. Now, this is different strokes for different folks. For those that have been wondering, Ebonyi, yes, Ebonyi is a state in Nigeria. And Ebonyi is a very beautiful state. So there has always been this ideology at the back of mind of people that Ebonyi is not that developed. Sorry. Sorry. And one thing I like about them there is the community life. The community life is very, very tight and strong. They are a good educational state, though the people are embracing it now, and they farm a lot, and they sell within themselves. These are models that we should now start looking for how to emulate. If their food inflation is 1.something%, and Benue is 18.something%, I think we need explanations. Doc, we need to hear from you. What exactly could be causing this? Benue is supposed to have reasonably one of the lowest food inflation rates, but it's having the highest. Benue and Kogi, because they are neighbors. What exactly could be contributing to this?
I think it's understandable if you look at the current trend of insecurity in Nigeria. You see what's happening in Kwara, Kogi, Benue is enough to explain why food prices could be as high in those areas as other places. When you have a lot of insecurity, people who go to farm and they are kidnapped every day, tendency that people are not going to go to the farm is high. And you know, before now, they produce what they eat and eat what they produce. And now the possibility of doing that has been reduced, which means, of course, they too have to be relying on foodstuff from other places to supplement or complement the little that they are able to do in those states. And I think that, for me, is enough to explain the disparity between the figures in some states and other places. I think government need to do a lot more in ensuring and guaranteeing security along that Kwara, Kogi axis. These Lukarawa people need to be flushed out, ISWAP, or whatever name they are called. The military must find a way to flush them out of our forest and our bush so that people can go to farm and then, of course, produce what they eat at least. And, of course, it's when people are well fed that they can be thinking of shipping their grains abroad. So for me, security is enough to explain what is happening in that axis. And I think once peace is restored in those areas, we will find that that inflation will ease and life, of course, will become better.
Inflation ease and life will become better. How do you think it? Lagos having one of the least available lands in the first place, has lower food inflation compared to Kogi and Benue.
Well, I think we have an insatiable consumers here, willing to consume a whole lot of things. But then again, speaking to Benue, we've had a whole lot of communal clashes, so much that even late President Muhammadu Buhari ordered the IG then to go there, but whether he went there or not, we seem not to know what happened then. Then also, recently, a certain missionary claimed that he wanted to build a world-class market in that particular place, and he was told, he was not given the approval, and later he was sent a bill of about, I can't remember the amount, but he claimed that what was sent to him, it was just 1/10 of what he was going to build.
What he needed to build.
What he needed to
market.
build. It was about 200 million, and what they were giving him was an outrageous fee. But that's his own claim. But imagine if he had gone ahead to build that ultra-modern market. But then again, if there are no produce, the market remains empty. So we also have road to market networks. What are we going to do to that to ensure that the roads are good? We need to have storage facilities. Benue is known for yams, good, beautiful yams. I've stayed there during my NYSC, so I know that place. A bit of flooding has happened here and there, but we all need security because that place is a matter of concern. We've had so many clashes. The governor has tried in his own bid. He has also made some certain remarks that people did not find,
The governor said there are no clashes in Benue State.
Yes, that people did not find nice, very nice, because you saying there are no clashes when we are seeing it all happen all the time. I think we've not really had, or shall I say, we've not gotten to the point whereby we'll say that, okay, enough is enough in Benue. Let's put a stop to this clash, whether it's ISWAP, whether it's communal clash, whether it's one ethnic group, whether it's herdsmen, whether it's this or that. Let's put a stop to it. And I think the ball falls on the chief security officer of that particular state until he is willing enough to say, this is my state. This is where I grew up, if he actually grew up there. This is where I grew up. This is where I was born. And you cannot come and destroy this place for me. No son will sit and watch his father's house go down. So that's the mindset we should all have. So he's the chief security officer of that place until he sits down and say, okay, fine. What can be the lasting solution to this? If you have to call the thieves, the this, the that, whoever you need to call to have a mediation and a settlement or something, a dialogue, then if you need to bring in the security forces also, of course, We live in an administration whereby the president has listening ears. So whatever you recommend, he's willing to do. And we're in an era whereby politicians are making magic happen. So you can leverage on that also. But then again, Benue is the food basket of the nation. And it's quite sad that it's sitting on 18% inflation. It's really quite sad, but we can get there. It's just for us to make sure. Like I said, food storage, silos. Let's have food storage. Security, road networks. Road networks. I have traveled to Benue, and if you go through, Kogi and all that, that road is not. So that's where railway needs to come in. Imagine if you had rail. So it's a whole lot. It's a whole lot, but we can actually get there. I believe we can actually get there, but let's see how it goes.
Okay, we can actually get there is the part I really want to hold on to. I want to see peace restored. Those in IDP camps go back home and be able to fend for themselves and get to farm. But now let's talk about something that concerns all of us: electricity distribution. Electricity distribution, that concerns every single one of us. Now, there is this particular call coming from the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the Niger Delta Power Holding Company, Jennifer Adihije. She has urged the federal government to remove electricity subsidies for all customers and adopt fully cost-reflective tariff to restore financial stability in the power sector. I almost said, is she paying the power bills? Okay, now let's keep going. Now, in a statement issued in Lagos, she cited deep-rooted structural and liquidity challenges undermining the performance of electricity market. She called for the decoupling of government subsidies from tariff structures. Now, the NDPHC boss advocated a gradual implementation of cost-reflective tariff across all customer segments, arguing that sustainable pricing reforms are critical to attracting investment, improving service delivery, and resolving persistent funding gaps in Nigeria electricity industry. Niger Delta Power Holding Company. Okay, now let's start from this particular place. Does any of the discourse have the moral justification? Do they have the moral justification to make this kind of statement?
Have they sold all what we generate? Do we even sell half of what we generate? It's quite funny. And it was yesterday, the doc and I were still talking about the president saying this is the amount he's going to pay, and they saying that this is the actual amount you are owing, and doc was saying that if we don't sell what we generate, you don't expect me to pay for that lapses. If we're generating 5,000 and you're selling just 3,000, what happens to that 2,000? Who's going to pay for it? It should come from your own pocket. So it's not in any justification for them to even come out and say this because of the epileptic power supply that we're getting. In Ibadan or your state, they probably get light, I'm not kidding, 2 hours or 3 hours a day. That's how bad it is. Where I stay, it's band A, and I guess less than 9 hours.
You get like 9 hours a day?
Less.
Congratulations.
Band A, I'm paying twice
Okay.
of what others are paying.
So double congratulations.
So before you can say remove subsidy, give us stable power. Give us, SOUQ is going on green. They're going on green. So what is the fate of electricity in this country?
Okay. Dear Doc, I think you've spoken passionately about this on several occasions. Apologies, we still have to bring this back because the Niger Delta Power Holding Company, they came out and said the federal government should remove total subsidy, completely remove total subsidy on power tariff for all customers. Now, if we look at it side by side, we now ask ourselves this particular question. How much has the discos put into their own operation since those companies were sold? How much of government money has gone into those particular companies because they are supposed to be private entities by now? How much have they paid back government?
Well, before I get into this question, I was trying to make a point on your earlier submission, and I think we have to be fair to Governor Ale. He doesn't say there is no trouble in Benue State. He only says that there is no religious war in Benue State, which is a narrative that a lot of us want to carry, that there's a plan to eliminate Christians from Benue State. That's far from the truth, and I think we must appreciate the reality of the challenge that we face. Yeah, that said, I had the same conversation with Jennifer in South Africa. I think that was in November or so. We had this conversation, and I think she's very strong on this particular submission. And I think I came to agree with her that there's a need for us to right the wrong that were done when these schools were sold some time ago. We sold to the wrong people who had no capacity to run the business. And these people were hoping that people are coming to put in money so that they can be able to do business very well. But the regulatory environment makes it very difficult for investment to get into that sector. And so our argument is simple. If you want people to participate and you want light to be as we want it, then we must be ready to allow the market forces to play its major role. That if government keeps setting the price of what electricity is going to sell, and most of the time that price is not meeting up with the overhead of the running companies, definitely you will not get good supply of electricity. And I think that is where the issues are. If we actually allow the electricity industry to run well, a lot will happen. Olumide is talking about the installation of solar in SOUQ. Of course, you know what federal government is paying to electricity is not a small money, because it's also not taking it free, and it's also looking at ways of reducing the burden of electricity bill at the State House. So you take that as an instance. People have alternative. A lot of individuals are also installing solar panels in their homes because the weather allows for those things to happen. But the major concern here is that if we want foreign investment in the downstream sector of the electricity market, then we must be ready to allow people who are coming to play there to either make profit. You can't set a loss for somebody and expect that people are going to put in their money to enjoy that loss. So for me, it's because that place is over-regulated. That is why we have not been able to get it right. If we have proper people who are willing to put in money into that sector, and then, of course, we are also able to regulate the kind of profit that they are going to make, it will make more sense than allowing the businesses to run at a loss. And at the same time, we will also be expecting a good supply of electricity. Like they say, you cannot eat your cake and have it.
You cannot eat your cake and have it. Okay, go ahead.
If Doc is saying over-regulations, what about metering?
Metering that we are paying for?
Yes. Why haven't all communities been metered since the days of former late President Muhammadu Buhari, when former Vice President Yemi Osinbajo said that all households should be metered? Since then till now, what's happening? And we know the racket, we know what goes on in getting. I know what we went through in my house to get a meter. And even when we got that meter, for the first 2 months, we still were paying estimated billing. That's how it is.
Yep.
Before I moved into that house, a year we were promised. They even showed us the papers there. This is it. They didn't bring the meter for over a year.
Doc, go ahead. You want to respond?
That's part of regulation.
I was just trying to say the issue here is not the metering. The issue here is proper pricing in the first place. We need to know what is the input that gets into the production of 1 unit of electricity. And therefore, if we say, for example, as we currently speak, one cost of unit of electricity is 209 naira for those who are on band A. That's what it currently sold. So can we agree that this is enough to actually produce that unit? And I think that's where the argument has always been. It's the same thing we're having in the, what is it called, the telecom sector, where you see operators are asking and say, look, we buy gas, we buy diesel, we buy generator, we employ security to watch our mask, and all of what these are overhead that is coming into the cost of production because the state has not been able to produce some of these things for us to be able to deliver. And I think these are also the same issues that are affecting the discourse also. They operate in states where, of course, securities are not guaranteed, their equipment are vandalized now and then, of course, they have the cost to go replace them. And all these things are factored into the cost of electricity. So what they are saying is that can government actually sit down with these people to say, what is the actual cost of electricity? Okay. So that we know what these people are taking. And it's not enough for government to say we are going to pay subsidy. And then, of course, the money is not coming as and when due. And they are accumulated in debt. And, of course, these companies cannot have those money to actually invest in those sectors. And I think these are the things that people need to also appreciate. Because government is not the owner anymore. They are distributing on your behalf. So we must also consider whether they are making profits or making losses. And if that is sorted out, the issue of metering, which Olumide is talking about, becomes then adequate. So I can then, of course, protest and say, well, if you are charging me this much, I want to know exactly how much I consume. And if people bring in money to invest in that sector, hoping that they are going to make profit or recoup those investments, then, of course, metering will not become any problem in that environment.
Okay, I hope we can follow this chain of thought. Metering is still a problem right now. And I also hope that the federal government subsidy, where it exists, is not removed. Because Nigerians are paying a lot for power. Not looking at class.
I'm paying double.
Not looking at class. If we really want to produce the industries we seek, and grow the economy we seek, power is not negotiable.
We're doing 5,000. We cannot.
It's not negotiable. Transmission is not negotiable. Generation is not negotiable. Now we see more players in generation. We need to see that also happen with transmission. Then we need to see the breaking down of the discourse. Complete breaking down of the discourse.
I have nothing.
States can play in that field.
Yes, I have no obligation. I have nothing against us going using alternative source of power. I think that would even probably regulate things. So if people have, if I can now decide that I can patronize eco-distribution, I can patronize another person, or I can get solar in my house. I think that would also balance things. But until we, just like Doctor said, because I've always sat down to ask myself, can these discos, can they actually ascertain how much we consume, how much each household consumes? Because what they do is they just come to your house, they calculate how many flats you have in your house. They say, okay, 2-bedroom flat should be consuming more than 1-bedroom flat, not necessarily checking whether that 1-bedroom flat has hot plates, this or that. Can they actually say that this particular household, this is what they consume? But I think that's where metering comes in. So you pay for what you consume. You don't necessarily have to be given estimated billing, because I suffered a whole lot of that estimated billing. It got to $500,000 at a point. The former company where we were working, it was $1 million every month until we had to, contest that, no, you need to do something about this, before they now brought it down to about 500 to 600,000. So all the while, for almost years, we were paying excess of 500, which they could not account for. So that's where metering takes. But why they have systematically refused to get meters in every household, it's a puzzle.
Okay, we want to see Nigeria work. And for those in charge of metering, we still know that a lot of these issues are personal, corrupt, and corruption issues. within the system, and we'll have to see this broken. I want to say thank you to everybody that has been part of SBL today, to the crew behind the cameras, to those in the MCR, to those editing. I want to say thank you very much. You've done us good, and we are grateful. To you out there watching, commenting, liking, and sharing, you're the reason why we're here. We say thank you very much. We want to welcome our chairman back, and it's nice seeing you. Thank you very much. Doc, we are grateful you joined us today. Thank you very much, sir.
It was my pleasure being here. Just to say the last word, federal government cannot be saying they are giving subsidy on electricity and owing DISCO over 450 billion naira. They should give them money, and they need that money to expand. And that is quite very instructive. If subsidy are paid timely, electricity can become better. We know we need the electricity to power the industry, but that's not to ignore cost-reflective tariff. Good day, Nigeria. Nigerian is getting better. Africa is rising.
Thank you very much, Doc. To everyone out there, thank you. My name is SOUQ, John Rogers SOUQ. We'll do this again tomorrow. Remember, this country is ours, and we'll build it together. Have yourself a beautiful day.
Take Nigeria because it's the mind that needs to first of all be rebranded.
Idris said he's going to be putting Nigerian labor, Nigeria content and materials first.
We say Nigeria first, and it is just us down here that, you know, are pushing that agenda. It's going to be a big struggle.
Do you think Nigerian firms, Nigerian organizations should start looking at getting their staff involved in this market or buying to keep for their staff?
Within this side, let's also learn citizen diplomacy. See something. This is SOUQ business landscape.
From Dubai to Lagos, Nigeria, and across the globe, SOUQ News TV is your #1 station focusing on business, economy, and development. With global digital reach, we connect Africa's pulse to the world stage. Welcome to SOUQ News Television, and here we go beyond the headlines. From breaking news, in-depth conversational programs, to market analysis and indices. From policies affecting growth to unique documentaries, from live event coverage to bespoke productions, we deliver content that connects you to the world. At SOUQ News Television, we provide news surrounding business, economy, and development, infomercials and jingles that stand out, short and long-form documentaries crafted to international standards, independent production spaces with full technical support, special coverage for individual and corporate events, a special form of documentaries through our prestige package, Immortals, where we tell your story the way you'd love it, and business support services tailored for small enterprises. SOUQ News TV, powered by FemWatch Limited, also home to the Isle 95.9 FM Lagos and Kasua 99.7 FM Kano, and Emirate News Television Abuja, together forming Africa's trusted media powerhouse. Storytelling, coverage, and connection that matters. SOUQ News TV, your home for business, economy, and development. At the core of what makes us human is our ability to pay attention, be present in our experiences, and channel our thoughts. From Dubai to Lagos, Nigeria, and across the globe, SOUQ News TV is your #1 station focusing on business, economy, and development. With global digital reach, we connect Africa's pulse to the world stage. Welcome to SOUQ News Television, and here we go beyond the headlines. From breaking news, in-depth conversational programs, to market analysis and indices. From policies affecting growth to unique documentaries, from live event coverage to bespoke productions, we deliver content that connects you to the world. At SOUQ News Television, we provide news surrounding business, economy, and development, infomercials and jingles that stand out, short and long-form documentaries crafted to international standards, independent production spaces with full technical support, special coverage for individual and corporate events, a special form of documentaries through our prestige package, Immortals, where we tell your story the way you'd love it, and business support services tailored for small enterprises. SOUQ News TV, powered by FemWatch Limited, also home to the Isle 95.9 FM Lagos and Kasua 99.7 FM Kano, and Emirate News Television Abuja, together forming Africa's trusted media powerhouse. Storytelling, coverage, and connection that matters. SOUQ News TV, your home for business, economy, and development.
Anthony Onyemaechi Elumelu was born on the 22nd of March 1963 in Jos, North Central Nigeria, to Susan and Dominic Elumelu, originally from Delta State. Tony earned a degree in economics from Ambrose Ali University, where he laid the foundation for his future career, and then furthered his education at the University of Lagos, where he obtained a master's degree in economics. His academic journey also includes attending the Harvard Business School, where he completed the Owner of President Management program, equipping him with advanced business management skills. Tony currently serves as the chairman of Ayers Holdings, Transcorp, and United Bank for Africa, UBA, demonstrating his significant influence in the banking and investment sector. He founded the Tony Elumelu Foundation, which aims to empower African entrepreneurs through comprehensive training, mentorships, and funding opportunities. In addition to his professional achievements, he's also a family man, married to Dr. Adele Vivian Elumelu, and together they have 7 children. In 2020, his efforts were acknowledged when he was named one of Time's 100 most influential people in the world. Anthony Elumelu's net worth is estimated to be around $700 million, a testament to his successful ventures and strategic investments. Elumelu continues to be a driving force in the business world, advocating for sustainable economic growth and empowering the next generation of African entrepreneurs.
Hello Lagos, make we yarn.
Hello, boy, this POS matter, don't pass joke. Person go swipe, alert no enter. Before you know it, jump.
Wait, wetin really happen?
They use fake alert, the warriors.
Okay, so wanna listen, If you dey do POS business, no expose your alert.
Hello, Ogbefi. They don't walk that road where they worry for our local government for years.
This one sweet me, I no lie you. Because you know what, development where they work, it deserve loudspeaker. Now why we dey here be that? For here, we know the abuse, but they bring solution. My name, it is Ikechukwu Oyemike, aka Ogbefi Ishegwari.
Make we yarn every weekday from 10 a.m. go to 12 o'clock on top the eye 95.9 FM.
Hello Nigeria, hello Africa. Yeah, this is Sound Man. Keep watching SOUQ News.
My name is Babalola from Excel LED. Keep watching SOUQ News.
My name is Shepherd Michael Adewale Onofuye. I enjoy you all to always watch SOUQ News TV.
Hi, I'm Tom Bogabowles, and please keep watching SOUQ News.
Wale Seriki, SLG Lagos Island East, SOUQ News. Keep out watching them and keep a lookout for them. They're up and coming, and we're proudly to be affiliated with them.
You alone where they make me go crazy. This your love in the cool of my brain. You're my medicine, I need you all day. Yo, it's Blackface Nigeria, and you're watching SOUQ News TV. Keep it locked on this dial, don't change it. You know what I say? Blackface Nigeria, love no bad.
Welcome to you on the program where we'll bring you different migration-related stories from diverse aspects. This is Across Borders on SOUQ News Television, and I am Grace Komolafe. It's few days to Christmas, and I am wishing you a happy one in advance. On today's episode, we want to explore migration, not just as movement across borders, but as lived experience shaped by safety, dignity, policy, and human choice. This conversation will focus on an often overlooked side of migration discourse, and that is how migration is reported and the responsibility that comes with telling these stories. From borders and transit routes to camps, cities, and return journeys, journalists play a powerful role in shaping how migration is understood. But with that power comes serious ethical questions. How do we report migration without putting lives at risk? How do we balance public interest with human dignity? And how do journalists protect themselves while working in complex and often dangerous environments? And so we will be speaking on the topic safety and ethics, reporting migration and border realities. To guide this conversation, we are joined by a journalist, Anibe Idajili. Anibe's work engages directly with migration, borders, and human stories. She will be starting this conversation in a bit, just after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back. In case you are just joining us, this is Across Borders, where we talk about migration and every other thing related to it. Today is about the safety and ethics of reporting migration and the border realities. And we have a journalist reporting in this field to take us through the journey. A very good morning to you, Anibe Idajili. Good morning.
Good morning, Grace. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so honored. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So glad to have you join us too. We are glad. All right, so without taking much of our time, let's just get started. And let's begin with safety. So I want to ask you, when journalists report migration stories, especially those involving irregular routes or vulnerable people, what kind of risks can reporting unintentionally create for migrants or their sources?
Okay, as journalists, first we must understand that every story that we tell carries a footprint, right? And so when we publish the names, the locations, or GPS photos of our sources, we may unintentionally hand over a map to traffickers, to government authorities, to even hostile communities. Now, for instance, let me give you an example. If you're telling a story of a migrant family, for instance, that has, suffered a failed migration attempt. Now, you might open them to targets, from, some, nefarious people, where they become targets for extortion, for attacks. So, when we tell migration stories, we have to be careful as journalists. Safety should be our first editorial consideration, right? Some of the steps we can take as journalists when telling migration stories are: one, we should anonymize data when necessary, right? We can blur the faces of our sources. We can replace, actual names with pseudonyms. Secondly, we should secure storage, right? I think this is something that most journalists do not do. Like, we need to learn how to encrypt, recordings and notes from our interviews. It's something we should learn how to do, how to save, data on cloud services. Then thirdly, we also need to have what I call a risk assessment checklist. We should be able to ask questions as journalists. If this information leaks, what happens to the migrants? What happens to the journalists, right? Because for us journalists, self-preservation should be the key word, right? We are protecting our sources, we are protecting ourselves. And, like I said before, safety should be the first thing, the first editorial consideration as journalists, because we need to protect our sources. Otherwise, how do they tell these stories? How do they tell these stories that need to be heard, right? So, yeah, so for me, I think safety should be our watchword as journalists.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. I like the fact that you've hammered on safety as it will be the first thing to consider. While you have talked about safety as the first thing to consider, you also mentioned being able to, use, I think I'm going to talk about technology. I'll just push that to technology, being able to save stuffs to, clouds and other platforms. How well would you say that journalists are being fine-tuned and following the current trend of being engaging in today's reality when it comes to technology?
Okay, as someone who has worked in legacy media organizations and also digital media organizations, I would say that the uptake of, the use of technology in journalism is very low. I would say that because for me, what has helped me is, getting trained and getting retrained. I've paid for courses myself to learn how to secure myself. I've paid for, workshops, even seminars, on how to safeguard myself, both physically, technology-wise, as a journalist. And I think that it's something that, the owners of media organizations, the founders of media organizations, should look into, because when you look at most journalists, they do not know how to really secure themselves, especially those who report conflict and migration stories. So I think the uptake is really low, and there should be more training on the use of technology. And also we cannot blame journalists so much because of the way things are in Nigeria. So, you get journalists working in traditional media organizations where even electricity is a challenge, without electricity, of course, that internet access, it becomes an issue. So I think there are a lot of issues interwoven in this, but I think that the main thing is for founders and owners of media organizations to train and retrain their employees on the use of technology in journalism.
That's very key. I like the fact that you've hit the nail on it. Said training is very important because the knowledge you don't have, you can't give it. It is what you have that will guide you and that will help you to deliver well. So I see some people concentrate more on powerful story. You've talked about safety, while that should come first. But again, some look at powerful story first. I want to ask you, from your experience, why should safety take priority over getting a powerful story? Or you think powerful story should be the priority?
Yeah. Okay, so I think for most journalists like myself, okay, that's where ethical reporting skills come into play. Now, so there's a dilemma between sensationalizing a story and humanizing it. So for us in this part of the world, you want people to read your stories. You want it to be out there, and so you see headlines that are click-worthy. Right? You hear of 5,000 migrants moving to a city or moving to a country. And what this does is it makes the viewers and the audience view these migrants as threats, not as real people. Right? And so I think what journalists who cover migration stories should do is, try to humanize the numbers. Right? Try to humanize the numbers. For instance, if I do a story on a migrant woman, for instance, who is running a small business in a host community or a host country, what I've done in that case is, let people see her struggle, see her, her success, see her as a real person, not as a threat, not as a burden, to the host community, but as a real person who is contributing something, to the society. And so we need to be careful in balancing this, because I always say that journalism is a covenant with the truth, right? It's a covenant with the truth. We must tell all sides, And then, for me personally, the ethical pillars that guide my work is, number one, accuracy. Right? I'll just make sure that I check every claim, even for sources that are vulnerable, especially for sources that are vulnerable, right? And then also, I try to look at, ask myself questions like, if, I publish this story, would it be respectful to the migrants? Right? So instead of looking at, how powerful the story is, and all of that, we should look at the impact, the real impact on the subjects of our stories, right? The subjects of our stories, and not just how viral we want the story to go. What impact would it have on them? Would it help the migrants, or would it perpetrate an anti-immigrant sentiment, in the minds of our viewers and audience? So it's very important that we balance these things.
Okay, so I like the fact that you've taken me to the next question, and we has to do with ethics. So, looking at ethics in storytelling, you agree with me that migration stories often carry emotional weight, you understand? So as a journalist, how do you balance telling the truth with being mindful of the consequences? I mean, a report may have, you want to look at the impact the report will have on the individual that is involved.
Okay, yeah. So this question is like a follow-up to what I just said earlier.
Yes.
We have to check every claim, right? Every claim. Even if the source is vulnerable, even if the migrant is vulnerable, because of course we know that most of the stories to tell about migrants, most of them are life-threatening stories, life-threatening experiences that they've had. Okay, so we need to check claims, right? So we don't get too emotional with the facts. We need to be able to combine emotions with facts. So we need to fact-check with multiple sources, including NGOs, legal experts, and other migrants themselves. It's very key that we fact-check every claim so we don't get carried away with emotions. And then we also need to look at the consequences, of the stories that we tell. How is it going to impact the migrants? All right? What perception is going to perpetrate stereotypes about migrants? Is it going to help them in any way? Right? We have to be careful how we tell these stories. And so it's just balancing. There should be a balance. There should be a balance, when we write the stories about migrants. There should be a balance, right? So, okay. Yeah.
Okay, so that's it. I get it. So apparently you are saying that it's okay to understand that this is basically for informing the public and not taking advantage of those that are vulnerable, those that are involved. So you just do it ethically. That's fine. Let's talk about language. So language matters deeply in migration reporting. I know, and even in every aspect, you know, we're in this together. So how does the choice of words, headlines, and framing, how does it influence public perception of migrants?
Yeah. As journalists, we need to audit the kind of words we use for our stories, right? We need to, you know, I see some kind of headlines sometimes and I'm like, wow, right? So we need to edit the kind of language we use for our stories. Not just the headline, the whole story, you know. It should not dehumanize the migrants, right? It should not dehumanize them. It should not reduce them to victims, right? So that's what most people do sometimes. Like of course, this person is moving from a particular location to another location because of conflict or because of one issue or the other, but it doesn't make them victims, right? So we have to watch the kind of words we use when describing, you know, or talking about migrants. And, you know, especially the headlines. You know, most people want to make their headlines click-worthy. Like you see the headline like, 3,000 people move from social community to social community. And like I said before, we have to be careful because the host community, there's a likelihood that they see these people as, you know, coming to take their jobs, coming to take their economic opportunities and all of that. So, but when we present migrants as contributors to the society, as people who are bringing their own quota to better the society, you know, we're able to, you know, create, you know, a sense of, you know, community. All right, and we don't create that sense like, oh, these people are threats. They are coming for, you know, they are coming for us. They are coming to take, you know, what belongs to us and all of that. So language framing really matters, you know, when telling migration stories. Unlike other kind of stories, you know, the stories we tell, migration stories we tell, can lead to even more conflict, right? It can lead to more conflict. So we have to be very careful, you know, when we tell these stories and audit the kind of language we use when, you know, doing migration stories.
Thank you. I think I'm just going to add a bit. I can tell you, we're in this together, like I mentioned earlier. You know that the media does a whole lot when it comes to passing information and how people receive this information, the impact of the information that we push out. We've seen that happen in 1 or 2 countries where someone just go make an announcement on the radio and boom, issues begin to happen everywhere. You understand? So I agree. I think that's a very key part we need to look at. I want to ask, away from headlines, are there other things, 1 or 2 or more, that you know that it's a major mistake that journalists do make and they need to work on, that you like to share?
Oh, okay. In telling migration stories, in relation to the kind of language they use. Oh, okay.
So I am saying that. I am saying that away from language, we've talked about framing, headlines, and all of that. Put together, what are those other areas you feel that, oh, this is not turning word, this is a mistake. Just journalists should know better, that you are aware of, that you want to speak to, so that we can all learn.
Yeah, I think that sometimes as conflict or migration reporters, we must accept too much in the stories. Okay, I'll give you an example. So I did a story on conflict-induced malnutrition, you know, how it affects children. And I visited a community where, you know, these migrants fled to. And I saw the children. Even as a mother, that thing stayed with me for a very long time. Like, I immersed myself so much in that story that it took a while to get over it. So one thing I would tell migration reporters is, you know, you have to take self-preservation seriously, you know, as a migration reporter. Like, fine, it's okay to immerse yourself in the story, but you should do it in such a way that you're able to, you know, move away from the story when you need to do that. And that's one. Then secondly, I'm going to talk, I don't know if you're going to talk about that later, I'm going to talk about informed consent. Now, for people who have suffered traumatic experiences, it's very key that you get
the next question I want to ask you, and you are just getting right into it. That's the next question I want to ask you. It's about consent and power of imbalance. You know, probably just speak to that. Consent and power of imbalance. Yes, speak to it.
Yeah. Okay, so for me, I see informed consent as more than just, giving someone a paper to sign, right? They have to understand what the story is about. They need to understand where it will be published, who might see it. You understand? And if at any point during the interview, they decide, oh, I don't want to go on with this, give them the option to leave. Give them the option to walk away. Right? So it's very important that they understand. And then we should also be able to speak the language that they understand. If, for instance, I'm going to a community where they speak Hausa, for instance, and I do not understand Hausa, I should get a translator or an interpreter, right? So it's important that they understand the kind of questions you're asking them, the implications and everything. I know you want to get the story. It might be a hot story, breaking story, you want to get it, but make sure as a journalist to get informed consent. And informed consent goes beyond giving them a paper to inform to sign. They should understand what the implications are, what the story is about, who would see it, and what that would mean for them. And then we should also give them the option to walk away if they feel like it's too uncomfortable for them or too dangerous for them, right? So I think these things are key. Yeah.
Thank you. I think you're very correct, because I know we've had one or two situations where we met with some of the migrants and wanted to have, a platform like this, but it wasn't comfortable for them, and we just have to respect that. That is very important. Yes. So consent goes a long way. Let's take a short break at this point. Please, the conversation continues, but we need to go on a break. When we come back, we'll take it from where we stop. Please stay with us. Welcome back, and you're still watching Across Borders, where we talk about migration-related issues. And we have been having a conversation with a reporter, a journalist, yes, who is working around migration and border-related issues. And she remains Anibe Idajili. So, Anibe, let's just get into the conversation again. So we've talked about the migrants, we've talked about ethics and some other things. So let's talk about journalists. Let's talk about journalists. So when it comes to border and field reporting, what are the risks that are attached to it? Now, I want to take this now. This comes with its own challenges. Can you speak to the physical and emotional risks journalists face in this environment?
Right. Thank you very much. Working in border zones is almost like walking on a tightrope. I'll tell you that. Yeah, and that's because there's a risk of you being arrested as a spy agent, as a spy. You can be arrested for being a propaganda agent by the government. There's also the physical threat of, being attacked by a party or some parties to the conflict, right? We've heard of stories where, the accreditation of journalists have been blocked. Some media organizations have had their licenses withdrawn because of certain stories that were told by their employees and all of that. For me, I've not really suffered a physical threat. Yeah, I've witnessed colleagues, suffer that. I've heard of colleagues who have suffered that. But for me, I think what I have experienced is emotional trauma. People don't talk about it a lot, but there's something called secondary PTSD. Like I was telling you about the story I did on conflict-induced malnutrition. When I covered, migrant families whose children were suffering severe malnutrition, that stayed with me for a very long time. It took, counseling, it took talking to family members and friends to get over it, because some of the pictures, some of the images that I saw, physical images that I saw, were really, really gory. So those are some of the risks that we face as, journalists that cover migration stories. You get to suffer, physical attacks, emotional attacks, and even, professional attacks as a result of the stories that we tell. So it's a lot of risks. that we face as, migration reporters.
So I want to ask you, how do you prepare yourself professionally and personally before entering into such environment? How do you get yourself?
For me, I work a lot with fixers, local fixers. These people know the terrain, they know where, it's a bit safe to go to and all of that. So, and also one thing I always tell myself is no story is worth my life, right? If it's too dangerous to go, I do not go at all. I do not go at all. And then also, because I work with organizations, I try to get the necessary permissions to go to a particular location. I don't just walk into a place and start asking questions, and all of that. I also try to build relationships with the communities that I go to beforehand, with my sources. That way I'm able to build trust. So they don't see me as a threat. They don't see me as someone coming to, ask questions that I'm not supposed to ask, and all of that. So those are the kind of things I prepare myself, how I prepare myself ahead of, covering these stories. And then, like I also said, I have, a counselor that I also talk to. Because most of these stories are life-threatening stories. And so I have a counselor that I talk to before I go to the field and when I get back. Then I also talk to family members. No, not giving them details of the story, but, how I feel, the emotional toll that these stories have on me. So that way it prepares me ahead, of, going to the field. Yeah.
Okay, I think that part is very important as well. So a whole lot of journalists probably they just go do their job, and that's it. I think seeing a counselor, meeting someone to talk to help you, get ready mentally and all that is very important. And I would like that as many as possible, let's have journalists begin to, imbibe this culture because it's going to go a long way helping. You mentioned something. You talked about walking away, and I like the fact that you mentioned it. You kind of personalize it, that no story was your life, and I think that is applicable to every journalist out there. But again, I want to ask, how are we going to say that journalists? Okay, let me put it in this manner: journalists and soldiers. The soldiers, they obey the last command. Are you saying that journalists, you are open to walking away, regardless of who is pushing the assignment and the targets, the information you need to get? You understand what I mean? All of that put together. Are you saying that you have the liberty to walk away even when you know you need to deliver?
That's a dicey one. Well, I'm saying personally, I go extra length to get, my stories, get the information I need for my story. But I also know when to walk away. Recently there was, this abduction of, a case of abduction of over 300 kids, And I was, I was around where that thing happened, maybe like, a 3-hour drive to that place. But I thought of, this thing just happened. Why don't I just wait for, a while before going there? And then when you drive to a certain place, you have to take a boat, like a 2-hour boat to the community. So, I felt like at that point, I wasn't supposed to go at that point, and I should wait till, the whole chaos and everything dies down a bit before going. So you can still tell your stories, but also know when to go, how to go about it. If you are supposed to wait, if you are supposed to walk away entirely. These are things that, journalists should discuss with their, organizations, with their, their editors and all of that. So you don't work in isolation. You work, and of course, organizations have their editorial guidelines. So there are rules, set of rules, that each journalist follows. So what I do is I always work with my editor. I don't work in isolation. And if he says go, I know I have the backing of my organization to go, and they will, provide me with, safety tools, right? So it's very important that we weigh all these options. Like I said before, as journalists, we should have risk assessment checklists, right? So you should check, is it safe now to go now? Can I go later? Do I have the backing of my organization? All right. Do I have the necessary accreditation permissions to go to, that location? So it's important that we weigh all of these. We have to accept those questions before going. Right.
So I'm just going to look at it from this angle. There's this saying that goes, "Does he that fights and run away lives to fight another day."
Lives to fight another day.
Okay. So when you see that the fight is really getting tougher and you can't handle it, you should walk away. You should walk away. But
Exactly.
that's not to say that the job should not be done. So I think I understand you trying to balance it. That is very important. Balancing the job. You know when to say no, you know when to say yes. Yes, that's very important. Now let's look at media's role, in shaping public attitudes. Media narratives influence how societies respond to migration. In your own view, how can reporting either promote empathy and understanding or fuel fear and misinformation? This question is very important.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for that question. It's very key. I think I touched on that a little bit when I was talking earlier. The media is the first, lens, to crisis for most people, right? So something might be happening in a certain location and people don't get to hear about it until maybe they tune into a TV station or they listen to a radio or they go to the internet, And so it's their first, contact, to crisis, to conflicts, to migration issues and all of that. And so we have to be careful, how we tell these stories. It's okay to talk about the numbers, but we should humanize the numbers, right? We should not dehumanize people in a bid to tell a story, right? Like I said earlier, if you say 1,000 people move from so location to XYZ location, the first thing that comes to the mind of the host community or the host country is, oh, these people are threats. Oh, they have come for our jobs. They have come for our opportunities, right? So we have to be careful how we frame this. But if I take a single story, a single migrant family story, for instance, and I talk about their setbacks, and I talk about their struggles, as immigrants. I talk about, their successes, their dreams, and all of that. What I have done is humanize them, humanize their experiences. Now people are able to relate to their dreams. They're able to relate to, their experiences. They don't see them anymore as threats. They don't see them as problematic. So framing is very important. It's very important. Framing is very important. The thing is, sometimes we do not recognize the power that we wield as journalists, right? Because like I said, the media is a lens through which most people see crisis. They see migration, they see conflict. So we have to be careful that even when stating the numbers, we're able to humanize, the people that make up these numbers. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to ask you, we're trying to wrap up now. When it comes to policy debates, when it comes to policy conversations, where do you see the media? Now you get to see press conferences where the medias are being, invited and information are being, set on the table, have conversation and all that. But where do you see the media when we're discussing core migration issues, when we're debating core migration policies? Where is the position or the place of the journalists?
Okay, for me, I think that the focus is mostly on the numbers, especially when it comes to policy making and decision making. So the focus is on the numbers of how many migrants are in social location and all of that for policy making. I think the government isn't focusing so much on their well-being. I know there are migrants in different camps and all of that, and we see different non-profits coming to provide relief materials and all of that. But I don't see those things as sustainable. I don't see those solutions as sustainable. I think the government needs to do more. Beyond the numbers, we should also look at, how we're able to impact, these migrants in the long run, in the long term, right? How we're able to, integrate them back into the society. So you see, people leave their ancestral homes, to different places because of one issue or the other, and they're able to, they are not accepted in their host communities, and they cannot go back to where they are from. So there are a lot of issues around this, and I think that's where we come in as journalists. We need to tell the stories. So, and that's why I said earlier that we shouldn't focus on the numbers. The numbers are needed, for policy making and decision making. But to tell impactful stories, we need to humanize these numbers. We need to humanize it, and we need to focus more on the people who are affected. We need to focus more on them. All right, the policies that are being made should be able to affect each person personally, and not just vague policies on paper. They should be able to impact lives. There should be tangible impact in the lives of migrants. So I think these are the stories we should tell as journalists. We should look at the policies on and how it affects the migrants. Yeah.
All right. So now, as we wrap up, I'd like you to speak to policies that concerns journalists. So are there policies that speak to the protection, the freedom, of the journalists, all put together? Because either you like it or yes, journalists are out there doing the core job for the country. You understand? So if the journalists are not there to dish out those information, to do the coverage and all of that, probably even the government might not have as much information as possible. Are there policies in place protecting, the journalists? And also, to finalize, do you have one or two information you'd like to share as regards your role, the role you play in this space?
Okay, I would like to say that we are not in lack of policies in Nigeria. I am aware of the Freedom of Information Bill that protects journalists. But then every day we hear of journalists being arrested, for publishing a story that somebody somewhere is not comfortable with. So I think what we need is, the implementation of these policies. We already have policies that protect, journalists, but we also need to enforce them, right? We need to really enforce them, and they shouldn't just be policies on paper. Right? I should feel protected when I go to the field. I shouldn't feel like if I tell the story in a certain way, I can be picked up, right? I can be arrested. My license, my accreditation can be, blocked, or the license of my organization can be withdrawn because I told a particular story. I know of a governor in this country that closed down a radio station because he wasn't comfortable with the kind of stories, they told about, especially about the issues, the challenges, the issues with, governance in the state. So I think journalists should really be allowed to do their work. They should be allowed to do their work. These policies should be enforced. They're not just be policies in name only. Yeah, so that's very important. As my advice to journalists who cover migration stories, I'll say safety first. Safety first. Please take your safety very seriously. Take self-preservation very seriously. Protect your sources. Protect them as much as you can, so you don't create more problems for them. Build a relationship with them first, and don't just go there to get quotes, right? Build a relationship with them, build trust. Also, fact check. It's very important. We shouldn't just tell stories because we want to tell them. Fact check claims. We shouldn't allow our emotions take over. Facts, right? Then also secure storage. Learn how to encrypt your recordings and your interview notes. Learn how to secure all of that, and then also get help, medical help, psychological help. If you need it, get it and protect yourself. And like I always tell myself, no story is worth your life, but do your best, but no story is worth your life.
Okay, no story, it's worth your life, and I think I key into that. Thank you very much, Anibe Idija, for Idaji, beg your pardon, Anibe Idaji. Thank you so much for the insight that you've shared with us today, and I wish you all the best in this field. And all of those key points you've highlighted, I think they are all important, and I am hopeful that everyone out there that is part of this program will be able to pick that which will work for them and make use of them. So after some other time, we will see you again. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Anibe. Thank you.
All right, have a great day. Thank you.
And you too. Yes. And so that's the conversation for today. Be reminded of these key points that have been highlighted. Safety is important, and it's very also key that you put the migrants into consideration, not just pushing out stories, not just about story, but of course it's your responsibility to ensure that they are also safe. You don't just frame and push out information like that. This is what we'll call it today on Across Borders for today. Don't forget to follow us via social media platforms at SOUQ News TV. Until next time, we'll see you again. It's Christmas week, and I wish you a very happy Christmas. Have a great day. Bye.
In Africa, and there's one man who has consistently been a household name and index of reference in the business arena. The name Aliko Dangote apparently stands tall. The Africa's richest man clearly benchmarks success, wealth, and prosperity. His unofficial love and passion for business are quite phenomenal. These can be traced to his background. Born in April 10, 1957 to Maria Sanusi Dangote and Mohammed Dangote, his maternal ancestors were prosperous caravan traders under British colonial rule, and his grandfather, Alhaji Sanusi Dangote, was a commodity trader. Dangote's grandfather was heavily involved in his upbringing and helped ignite his entrepreneurial spirit. For Dangote, one will ever assume his wealth was handed out or easily channeled, being an offspring of Dangote, or his success didn't come through daydreaming. Dangote complemented inherited fortune with deliberate hard work and innovation to pave his way to the top. Those who knew Dangote while growing up will not be surprised at his outstanding success. At age 8, Dangote uses pocket money to buy sweets, which he and others sell for a profit. Everything big in life starts from little. Taking a clue from this, Dangote, from a seed loan of 500,000 obtained from his uncle, started business, which he traded commodities and business supplies, primarily cement. By 1981, his firm was successful that he had incorporated other businesses and established the Dangote Group. His empire extended to foodstuffs, including sugar, salt, wheat, cement, haulage, and other business concerns. Among his holdings were Dangote Industries, Dangote Bale Nigeria, Dangote Cement PLC, Benue Cement Company PLC, Dangote Sugar Refinery PLC, Dangote Flour Mills, and Nascent Ally Industries PLC. In addition to his holdings in Nigeria, the Dangote Group has operations in several other African countries. With these giant strides in the business arena, Dangote will forever be grateful to his grandfather for giving him wings to fly. According to Forbes, an American business magazine, Dangote remains the richest man in Africa with an estimated fortune of $13.9 billion. Dangote is one Nigeria, highly decorated with honors as well. His urine service and huge investment also got him both local and international recognitions. Like the Guardian Man of the Year in 2015, he won the 2016 African Business Leader Award organized by the African American Institute. Dangote was cited as one of the top most influential Africans by the New African magazine in 2015, 2017, 2018, and 2019. He was recently conferred with the prestigious award of the National Order of the Lion by the President of Senegal. When it comes to breaking jinx, Dangote has it in full measures. He took his pioneering and jinx-breaking adventure to another dimension with the unveiling of the $20 billion refinery, widely adjudged as the largest single-train petrochemical refinery in the world. The refinery has the total capacity of 650,000 barrels of crude oil per day and is expected to earn as much as $21 billion in annual income. Situated on 2,500 hectares site at the Lekki Free Trade Zone, Lagos, it is supplied with crude oil by the largest subsea pipeline infrastructure in the world. When fully in operation, the refinery will provide 135,000 permanent jobs in the region. When it comes to family life, Dangote seems to, however, prefer maintaining a low profile. He got married to Zainab in 1977 but divorced at an unknown date. He was later married to Maria Mohammed Rufai. Dangote has 3 daughters named Halima, Maria, Fatima, and he also adopted a son, Abdurrahman. Dangote is one granted authority that combines rare intelligence with self-effacing demeanor, a persona that naturally makes kindness. Like an eagle, Dangote's foresight and unusual business acumen make him a rare to come by. Though he owns chains of business in Nigeria and across Africa, the quest by this uncommon risk taker to conquer more business territories may not wane anytime soon.
Afrobeats is a classic overnight success story, except it didn't happen overnight. I'm happy to be here. One of the key things about the Omniverse is that it's designed to go beyond an event and designed to be fully something that people can engage beyond the summit. The point being that Nigeria has so much to bring to the world in terms of these things, but we will be bringing fresh energy, fresh ideas, a fresh engagement, and we're obviously open to collaboration. But hip-hop, it's never dies. What's the difference between Thor and Shango? Thor is approaching $50 billion in revenue. Shango's broke somewhere outside Lagos. And that's a lack of imagination on our part, Africa, and they're all Nigerian. So to be seen and to be noticed is very hard if you're not in the place where all the noise is being made.
My name is Shino Gbadegeshin. I'm the CEO of Gozi Micro Insurance. Continue to watch SOUQ News.
Adenike Adeyemi, Executive Director of Faith Foundation. Keep watching SOUQ News.
My name is Shepherd Michael Adewale Onofuye. I enjoy you all to always watch SOUQ News TV.
Hey everyone, Majuli Obaje here representing Gigi. Keep watching SOUQ News, okay? Stay updated with SOUQ News.
My name is Aton Keme. I am the head of MSME Banking. Please keep watching SOUQ News and stay glued to SOUQ News.
I recommend that more and more people should watch SOUQ News because they deal with business news.
Hi, my name is Amaka Wokolo. I am the director of the Faith Institute at Faith Foundation. Keep watching SOUQ News.
We've got just what you need right here at Venue Wash Media. Call it the Midas Touch, and you wouldn't be wrong. Let us record, produce, mix and master your audio like nobody does. Reach us on our contact today for the best quality job.
In Nigeria, when you hear technology, innovation, and e-commerce, then you begin to think of the 21st century visionary leaders who have availed us the luxury of connecting with the world without leaving our spaces. Nigeria, alongside some other developing countries, has occupied the tech space, networking and making a brilliant impact around the world, all thanks to people like LSK. I am Grace Komalafe. Join me on the Corporate Maverick as we unveil the journey of a foresighted leader who foresaw the transformation of technology decades ago. The year 2001, known as the third millennium, stands out for some individuals. It was thought like every other regular year to some people as they express the excitement that comes with experiencing a new millennium. While many carry on with the feeling of entering the 21st century, some visionary individuals saw it as a strategic period to bet their thought-provoking plans and business goals. Among these visionary leaders and innovators is Leo Stan Eke, founder of Xenox Technology, bringing this tech-oriented company to life in 2001. How much do you know about this tech and business-driven giant? Who is Leo Stan Eke? Dr. Leonard Stanley Nnamdi Eke, popularly known as Leo Stan Eke, is one of Nigeria's dynamic and influential figures, an African entrepreneur born into the family of Ihentuge Eke on February 22, 1956 in Imo State, Nigeria. His mom, a dietitian, and dad, a nurse. His root is traced back to Ubonmiri Mbaitoli, where he was raised in the household that valued education and hard work. His parents instilled in him the values of discipline and perseverance from a young age. It was within this nurturing environment that Eke's entrepreneurial spirit began to take shape. Like many visionaries, Dr. Eke's journey to success was paved with academic excellence. He attended Holy Ghost College in Owerri for his secondary education, where he honed his intellect and ambition. Eke's dream of becoming the biggest transport company owner in Nigeria changed as a result of his encounter in India, where he had his university studies. It was a turnaround moment in his life. In India, he pursued a Bachelor of Science degree in economics from Punjab University, and the exposure to India's vibrant economy left an indelible mark on him and then tilted towards more realistic business ideas. This led him to get full involvement into ICT.
So I'm a very good testimony of an African who started from nothing, okay, and got somewhere, not there, right? Okay, so in summary, I came in here first of all to the University of Nottingham, or Nottingham University. I was in Cork City University, where I was doing computer science, and I wanted to specialize in user interface as a postgraduate course, okay? And the system, which I'm sure still exists in the UK, that you have university chancellors who observe you in classes and direct you properly. And they thought since I was going back to Africa, there were no computers. And if I got there, I could be frustrated for another 32 years. So they discussed with my parents, and they wanted to know if I could stay in the UK and continue computer science. I said, no, I was going back to Nigeria. I have passion to change the country, and by extension, the continent.
He later went on to earn a Master of Science in Risk Management from the Exton University of Nottingham, England, further enhancing his acumen in the field. With his tech startups dating back to the 80s, Eke can be put in the bracket of visionaries who saw that ICT would define the world in no distant time. His ICT Solutions company commenced operation in 1989, focusing on desktop publishing and computer graphics. Over the last 3 decades, the company extended operations from Lagos to Port Harcourt and Abuja, implementing several ICT projects across the oil and gas, telecoms, manufacturing, and public sectors.
I started small, like any other entrepreneur you read today. Okay, some started in a garage. Okay, most of them didn't inherit wealth. Now, so how could they have started? You start with your own. During our time, you have to start with your own sweat. Okay, until you build such, get to such a level with a system and structure in place. And then people trust you. But because our kids today pass through business schools connected to people, okay, and they now want to go from average above. You understand? Instead of starting, a lot of us started from -1.
Leo Stan Akers' major hits into the business world commenced with the establishment of SOUQ Technology Limited in 2001. With a fervent desire to contribute to Nigeria's technological space, he embarked on a mission to manufacture computers locally. Now a world-class ICT company providing innovative products and solutions. Under his leadership, SOUQ Computers have emerged as a trailblazer in the industry, earning accolades for its quality and innovation. One of his notable achievements was the attainment of the Windows Hardware Quality Lab Testing WHQL certification, showing SOUQ's commitment to excellence. In 2013, the company made headlines with the launch of its computer tablet line, ZPad, marking another milestone in its illustrious journey. Dr. Akers' entrepreneurial prowess extends beyond the realm of technology. In 2018, his company SOUQ made waves with the acquisition of Konga.com, a leading e-commerce platform in Nigeria. This landmark deal underscored Akers' strategic vision and his unwavering dedication to driving innovation in diverse sectors. Konga.com was founded by Sim Shagaya in July 2012 as a third-party online marketplace. 99% of its shares were acquired by SOUQ in February 2018. 3 months later, Konga merged with SOUQ's retail outfit Udala to form the biggest e-commerce company in Africa, retaining the brand name Konga. Leonard Stanley Ake also founded BuyRightAfrica.com Limited in 2008, at a time when credit card and e-payment infrastructures were still strange to many Nigerians. He did this to resolve funding issues for ICT projects and companies. He partnered with international financiers to help Africans acquire technology and compete globally. Some other of his establishments are Technology Distribution Limited, Tax Direct Limited, and iTech Solutions. He is involved in ICT Brokers and ICT Connect.
Okay, but mine had a call. I had a call on the tech sector, and I've been consistent. And if you remember, my first step was to deal with the doubting Thomases, the media people. And it was like an evangelism. If you prove your worth to press people, to media people, because these are the critics of our time, then they follow you. You get to your destination faster. So when I did the whole media houses, transitioning them to digital economy through digital processing, through from typesetting to desktop publishing, computer graphics, okay, and multimedia. Then they started spreading the news. But again, we had to enhance that profile to the corporate world so that people can run offices with data analytics to guide them on advice, projections, okay, and where they're headed to. And then even our election. Okay, so today there would have been crisis in the economy if elections don't have facts and figures. And we did that with the DDC, and then did authentication with a card reader.
If you've come this far, kindly like, comment, and share. Throughout Ake's career, he remained committed to empowering others and fostering socio-economic development. His philanthropic endeavors and advocacy for youth empowerment reflect his belief in the transformative power of entrepreneurship. He launched the Computerized Nigeria project in August 2000, thereby encouraging development and the use of computers. He also launched the Can I scheme, providing affordable laptops to young Nigerians with a repayment plan of 24 months window. Eke's foundation furthers his charitable efforts, supporting various causes with different donations across the country.
Now, I see entrepreneurs trying to live big. Are you with me? Yeah. Okay. I see entrepreneurs trying to show off. You must have incubation period. Every successful entrepreneurs are seen to be stingy because they know the value of every dollar spent. But they use the same money to sustain the society. Okay, so I just want to advise Nigerians here. I see a lot of you startups now selling debt. It means technically you are leaving the company. And if I'm an investor, I watch your lifestyle. First of all, I see an entrepreneur, Nigerian entrepreneur, he hasn't started, he has an expensive car. Entrepreneurs, startups don't drive the best cars. They hide until they emerge.
He was bestowed with the Icon of Hope Award by former President Olusegun Obasanjo on October 1, 2002. He also got Nigerian Science and Technology Achievers of the Year 2003 and Officer of the Order of the Federal Republic of Nigeria OFR in 2004. Eke is also a member of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group and holds a life membership, Nigeria Institute of International Affairs. He also holds an honorary doctorate in business administration from Imo State University, Owerri, Federal University of Agriculture, Makurdi, Federal University of Technology, Owerri, and the University of Jos. He is a fellow of the Lagos State Polytechnic, Lagos, Federal Polytechnic, Ida, and Federal Polytechnic, Nekede, Imo State.
Leadership is big crisis in the third world. Big subject to discuss. I don't have a complete answer, but as an entrepreneur, I can create platforms for you to decide who should be your leader. But my interest is that I'm excited with this 21st century because this is the only century God did not create any person to be poor. In the past, many were called and few were chosen. In 21st century, many are called and many will be chosen. But you have to decide if you want to be one of those to be chosen.
Leonard Stanley Nnamdi Eke is married to Chioma Eke, the CEO of Technology Distributions Limited, TD Africa, and together they have raised 3 sons and 2 daughters who are doing well in their respective fields of endeavors, just like their parents. As Dr. Leonard Stanley Nnamdi Eke continues to chart new territories and inspire future generations, it speaks to the limitless potential of the African entrepreneurial spirit. With his visionary leadership and unwavering resolve, Dr. Eke embodies the essence of innovation and resilience, creating indelible marks on Nigeria's business in Africa and humanity. Leonard Stanley Nnamdi Eke.
Hello Nigeria, hello Africa. Yeah, this is Sound Man. Keep watching SOUQ News.
My name is Babalola from Excel LED. Keep watching SOUQ News.
My name is Shepherd Michael Adewale Onofuye. I enjoy you all to always watch SOUQ News TV.
Hi, I'm Tom Bogaballs, and please keep watching SOUQ News.
Wale Seriki, SLG Lagos Island East, SOUQ News, keep out watching them and keep a lookout for them. They're up and coming, and we're proudly to be affiliated with them.
You alone where they make me go crazy. This your love in the cool of my brain. You're my medicine, I need you all day. Yo, it's Blackface Nigeria and you're watching SOUQ News TV. Keep it locked on this dial, don't change it. You know what I say? Blackface Nigeria, love no bad.
Okay, as you know, my name is Babatunde Jala Epega. I shortened it. That was part of my journey to Baba Jala Epega. I was born here in Lagos, just a stone throw away from here, in actually Lagos Hospital here. And I was expelled from school. I went to Corona Ikoyi at the age of 6. My teacher, who I found to be quite unjust at the time, made us all stand, and I remember this, even though it's like almost 45 years ago. But I remember standing outside Corona School in the heat with all the students in my class because one boy had done something and no one owned up. So I found that quite unjust that all of us had to suffer. So I picked up a stone and I threw that stone at my headmistress's glass and it broke her window. She told my parents, and my parents weren't very happy, of course, but they realized that I wasn't meant to be in school like that here. So the teacher actually asked me to leave, and my parents took me to England. They said, take this child to England. We can't control this child here. He's a wild fellow. So as soon as I got to England, I went to Tunbridge Wells in Kent. I went to school there, and it was the most cold experience I've ever had in my life. I was 6.5 going to 7, and I went to boarding school at that age. And I think that woke me up in life straight away, that even in comfort, you still have steel. And by that I mean that everyone would think, oh, you are lucky, you went to England at 6, 7. But I was very young. I was put in a dormitory with children from England, from Japan, from Saudi Arabia. We were all very young. There was a lot of crying in the dormitory, 12 boys, 6 on each side. And the room was very cold. I remember the cold. But one other thing I got to learn was rugby. And through my life, rugby and learning to deal with my condition and environment has instilled a strength in me. And as we know in Nigeria, you have a lot of things that happen that are out of your control, but you have to find a way to evolve and adapt. And I think from the age of 6, 7, I was very lucky to have that. I went to the oldest school in the world called King's Canterbury, started by St. Augustine in 598 AD. This was the secondary school I went to. And my life seemed pretty, what they say, gold-leafed at the time. Everyone's like, you enjoy, you're in Nigeria, you're in London. I learned to speak Spanish. Unfortunately, I lost my Yoruba, but I'm trying to get that back. I learned to speak Spanish and French. But at the age of 17, my father had a stroke. And he was working too hard, obviously. And sadly, my mom and dad had split up by that time. So my whole life that seemed so rosy stopped because my father's business partners, all of them somehow took the business and it went away. And from that going away, we were left destitute. My dad was in a coma for 3 months, and my mother, who wasn't working, because my sisters and I have 2 lovely older sisters, Yewande and Gigi, we were still in school. So much so that my last year's school fees were not paid. But one of my uncles kindly paid for my school fees, and my mother had to go to work. She started her own business. She too was a journalist, Mrs. Ibiene Epega, but she started a chauffeur driving company and started using cars to drive people with her staff. So from that age where I thought a university was going to be given, I was left floating in the abyss because we didn't have financials. So for 1 year, I had to work in a post office in London, and it was quite an eye-opener for me, but it didn't stop me from adapting. And again, adaptation helped me grow. So from being in a very wealthy family as a young man, coming to the age of 17 to become an adolescent, a grown-up, I realized that nothing is given. My father sadly was in a stroke, and when he had that stroke, he became semi-paralyzed. For another 30 years, he was semi-paralyzed. But my mother died quite soon after that time in a car crash on the road to Warri, because my Okrika side and Warri side is where my mom was from, even though my father was Ijebu. So my mother died at the age of when I was 21, which was 20 actually, when I was starting university. And my father was semi-paralyzed. So I became the father of the family, even though my sisters were older and far more intelligent than me. But being the man, I had to take control of a lot of things. And I think that's what really gave me the tenacity to understand that I really need to be someone who doesn't just walk in one field. I need to spread my risk. From my university, I did mathematical economics and Spanish. I was able to go to University, Queen Mary College, London University. And from there I finished. As I said, I worked again. So I worked before I went to uni, and then I worked afterwards. And for me, life is about collaboration, communication, and tenacity. And I think that those were my first 21 years. There were less people in Lagos in those days. I won't lie. I grew up every summer and even Christmas where we could afford it. Back in my day, 1978-79, Naira was 0.8 to £1. So you can understand that people were very wealthy. I think in those days there was like 40 million people. It wasn't that much of it because my dad was an estate surveyor. So we used to go to Abuja a lot. And he was one of the surveyors that gridded Abuja when it was being built during the late 70s, 80s with Obasanjo, and even before Murtala Mohammed. They were gridding it. And Lagos, or should I say Abuja, was made the capital. And Abuja is a model city of Milton Keynes, which is a model city of Paris. Just like Brasilia in Brazil was changed from Rio de Janeiro as a capital. So for me, coming back to Lagos was a joy. I enjoyed it because I was young. We used to just walk, run the streets on our bicycles and cycling, just exploring. Everything was open. There weren't as many cars. It was no big apartments, and there weren't as many people. So I had a beautiful time. There were a lot of lizards on the ground, and we used to throw stones at them. But that was my own youth. We used to go to the beach a lot. Bar Beach was around. It's not around now. Sadly, my dad used to take me to Bar Beach to see the capital punishment killings of armed robbers, and even Dimka, who was one of the leaders of the coup d'etat against Murtala Mohammed. We saw him shot there. Saturdays was a big day, and NTA used to have a channel. I think they still have their studio there. So one of our aunties, Ms. Julie Coker, was there. So we saw a different side of Nigeria. We would go to Ibadan, we'll go to Ijebu, we'll go to Benin, we'll go to Port Harcourt by road. In those days, you could travel, and along the way, we go to Akure, you pick up mangoes, you pick up coconuts, my dad will pick up palm wine, all these things on the road that I don't know if you get it now because security is an issue. So for me, it was a romantic time. I think fashion, evolving through Nigeria, has started as a siloed industry. By that I mean every individual was doing their own thing, whether they were a seamstress, a tailor, a designer, a stitcher, they were doing their own thing. But we are realizing that with the 200 plus million people we have in Nigeria, you can't be an individual alone doing your own thing. So the evolution of fashion that I've seen in my own small way, as someone who's worked in the industry, is that there's more collaboration. The designers are looking for hire specialist artisans to help with their stitching, the styling, and the putting together of clothes and accessories. So I'm also seeing small grassroots shoots, very small at the moment, of the government playing a part in bringing together some kind of foundation so people can articulate their fashion designs to the world, because we have seen it in a lot of music. Obviously, Afrobeat is one of our biggest exports in this country. Obviously, there's oil and all the others, but I'm talking about within this entertainment, luxury, lifestyle industries. So we're trying to learn from that how private sector can play a part to enhance this fashion sector. So now we're seeing a lot of vibrant colors, a lot of styles. Men's fashion is big. It's not just women's fashion. Men's grooming is massive, hair and beauty as well. So men are taking care of ourselves more and more. And accessories. Accessories, I think, is fundamentally the quick fix of fashion, where we can enhance and create jobs and hyper growth in GDP by focusing on this. And this is where I implore the government with, working in mineral resources, our precious metals, semi-precious metals, help those industries to grow. There's a great lady, Janet Adeyemi, who works in Women in Business, and she is working within that. Let's help our fairer sex or the female gender to grow in business as well, because there's a fundamental knowledge that if half your population are women, as ours is roughly, or maybe 51%, 52%, you have to educate the women so they too can add to GDP. It's a simple economist theory. You can't leave them out of it because it's very important. And these industries in fashion are enhanced by women, and we need to push that forward. I think the banking system needs to be augmented, and I'm saying this from the government's perspective. The ease of doing business in Nigeria, as an investor myself, a foreign investor as well as being an indigent in Nigeria, the problem is not getting your money to Nigeria, it's getting your money out of Nigeria. Not that you want to suck all the money out of the country, but what can help is the floating exchange rates, the flow and liquidity of money that can come in and out of the country. A lot of investors are worried about how they get their money out of Nigeria. So I think our banking system, going back to the central bank, which they're working on, needs to be much more fluid. So people feel they can invest and take money out. But also, we need to articulate what is on offer. We need to start some kind of documentation of who is available to have investment with, where they can be found, because it's because we are quite an opaque economy, meaning that people can't see the end of where they're putting their money. Once we do that basis and open up the lights within which kind of businesses are available to be invested in, I think a lot of investors, domestic and international, will be more willing to put money to it. I think content creation for me has been an evolution. I started as an ex-banker, as I said. I used to trade futures and options in Barclays Bank. I was on the Life Exchange, trading bonds, and I found that wasn't my life. I wanted to be more closer to people. Some people can be bankers on the trading desk or trading floor, but not for me. So I started doing events. I was very lucky enough to show that I was quite adept at doing events. So a big company called Richemont, they owned Cartier, Dunhill, Hackett. They were part of British American Tobacco. They took me on to do their events. So I was doing a lot of polo matches, a lot of Christmas parties, a lot of brand activation events in England. So for me, I got a lot of content knowledge from that. Different styles, people, different countries. But in the last 10 years, I felt that helping companies like LinkedIn, Google, all kinds of big banks in Europe and America was not my remit. My business, EMC3, was going very strongly in America. But as a Nigerian man, I didn't feel love in America. I know that everyone says it's the land of opportunity, but being someone of my own African descent, I didn't like the mentality there. People are good, but the infrastructure is racist institutionally, as we know. So I felt I wanted to give something back to Nigeria. Nigeria. And with all the 20 years of, at that time, about 17 years of knowledge I'd gained from doing some of the best Grand Prix parties in the world, Formula One, around Monza, Silverstone, Abu Dhabi. I was doing a lot of events. I thought, let me take this back to Nigeria. I didn't have to come back to Nigeria. I wanted to. And I know with all our grievances with Nigeria, if you ask many Africans about Nigeria, they'll say, they look up to us. You guys, you have Chinua Achebe, you have Wole Soyinka, you have Fela Kuti. What's your problem? You have Chimamanda Adichie. What's your problem? So we have to take ownership and say, yeah, we do have all these people. We have Afrobeats, whether it's Burna Boy, Davido, the Venus Bushfires, all these different people that are exported. Let us look inside and say, wow, we do have a lot. So I wanted, as a content creator, to show Nigeria in all the different sectors that we do have a lot. And that's why with the marketing and communications company that I've started, my own company, I felt I could touch so many sectors. And finance, as I mentioned, I work with banks. Also government, Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission, a very great entity. I work in fashion, with brand labels and people across the board. There are great shops like Alara here that also promote African fashion and African business. And did you know even Leventis does a lot of research, Nigerian bottling company, to help this country. And do you know Nigeria was blowing glass 1,000 years, almost 1,000 years before Europe knew glass blowing, and it's been found in Oyo State only recently. So it's very important that architecturally we take ownership of our country. The Nok civilization that has been in the mid to, I think it's above Abuja, near Benue, and even Niger River, above those basins, that has a lot of artifacts and a lot of archaeological excavation potential. But we've allowed that just to linger. People have stolen a lot of our artifacts. Nigeria was known for Benin bronzes. We were the best smelters of iron before people were smelting iron. So these are things we have to take stock of. And me as a content creator, I bring all that information together and I make sure that people acknowledge it and are aware of it. So then that will uplift us all. Now, this is a political question, but I believe with our background of the last 20, 30 years, we've had, sadly, leaders who have been militarily inclined, let's just call it that. And as we know, military people, they don't like educated people, because educated people will ask questions. So we have had what we call a dismemberment of education in Nigeria for the last 35 years. And that has played an endemic part in retarding the gross domestic productivity of our country, because our youths and even people up to my age and older have not had the infrastructure, middle-class education that is needed for a country to grow. You look at the Industrial Revolution in the 19th century in Europe, especially in Britain, and you look how they were expanded by merchants and artisans and specific skilled workers. Apprenticeships were big, education was huge. There was what they call a noblesse obligée, a nobility obligation, that people who are rich give back to institutions, not to church, to institutions that will help education. And that is where I think we've had a disconnect. Education was lacking. So for me, the way that we can help, it takes time. This new government is in. They are trying to implement the 8-point agenda, which is a good agenda. But everyone's looking for results now. Nigeria has been in a very bad state. There's global downturn. Obviously, cost of living is so high as it has been for a while. Nigeria is exacerbated, but in Europe, cost of living is high. There are some stupid wars going on around the world that has meant oil prices have skyrocketed. And with the rocketing of oil, everything goes up price-wise. So Nigeria needs to reevaluate education and apprenticeship. I believe even in fashion industry especially, apprenticeship is very important whether it's weaving, designing, marketing, online, whatever it is, factories, you need apprenticeship. And that's the quick fix of education. But education is fundamental to everything. Education of men and women, or girls and boys, both. Let's be honest, we need both sides of our genders to work together. You know, Yoruba, we've always been what we call a dual binary kind of culture. We've always thought of male and female as one, and it's very important. Even in our names, Taiwo and Kehinde, we won't know if it's male or female. So we have to really educate ourselves that we can work together. And I think our women are our future. And I can't even emphasize that more. And education is key. But it takes time. It takes time. I think Japa syndrome is very real. Everyone wants a better life. Let's not lie. You want a better life for yourselves, but for your family, your parents, your children. And the opportunities in Nigeria, even when you have been educated and you finish graduate here, to find jobs is not easy. The infrastructure is very bad for job creation. And this is being worked on, we know. And the last 8 years has been fundamentally broken. But we know this new government is changing that. But specifically, Japa in Canada, they need our brains. You go across the world and you ask any nation, especially America, who are the best educated, the best, integrated, and the most proficient people, Nigerians. So it's not that we are stupid. It's that we don't have the infrastructure at home. And America, Canada, Europe, they're giving us the infrastructure. So getting out of Nigeria is not easy. There are opportunities and policies that allow it, but going across the border to Libya is not the way. You spend $5,000, $4,000, which is almost 4 or 5 million naira, to try and get to Europe, and then you are treated like a dog when you get there. That's not the way. But, you know, there are certain policies that can take you to these countries. And in Britain, for instance, it's not all the streets aren't paved in gold, but if you earn £1 in Britain, you send that home, that £1 is 1,300 naira. So, and the minimum wage is £14 an hour now in Britain. So you can do the maths of that. So someone who is earning £14 an hour, if they work 10 hours in a day, they've earned over £100, which is 100,000 naira. So the maths, of course, is what makes people want to go there, because even if you are working there, obviously you're paying British rates, so your rent, your cost of utilities, your food and drink, your transport comes into play. It's not cheap there. But the money you send, even if you're only sending £100 a month back to your mom, that's 100,000 naira. So, or 130,000 naira in today's rate. So you can do the maths. That's why people are going. And the security in these countries is, and the education, to be quite frank, is better. But it doesn't mean they are better. We have to build a house, you must thatch the roof from within, so your roof doesn't cave in. And I think that's very important. Not that people shouldn't go home. I mean, go out of the country, but they should always come home as they can. Because we need, you see the Pakistanis doing it, you see the Indians doing it, you see the Arabs, they go home and they build their own countries. It's not good to just japa and live. You have to come home as well. I think my success is down to, as much as I can say a success, because it's still a book that is not finished and the stories are still unwritten, is a tenacity of hard work. It's very important that people understand that it takes a lifetime to look like an overnight success. It doesn't just come. What I'm still doing, I'm not the most successful in my business, but I love my business. And if you can find something that you love and you can make money out of, then you're in heaven on earth, to be quite frank. I think my spirituality and my faith is very important, as is my wife's. My wife, Helen Epega, she wrote the world's first Pidgin English opera. and we've been staging it here in London. We played in Cape Town, in Nairobi, and in Lagos, sorry. And we've staged it in London. We're at the Royal Albert Hall next year. I'm executive producer of that. So I think my success, to add to that, is that I put all my eggs in one basket. And I work very hard to make sure I research and obtain knowledge of the next thing or what was the last thing. I'm a historian as well. And I put things in perspective. And I try to add value as I can. But as my momsy used to say, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. So I like to listen as well. And from children you can learn, from grandpapa you can learn. So humility is very important. I'm not arrogant with it. And I think that's the most important part. Collaboration, humility, and shared drive. But also knowing that for me, Saturday and Sunday, I'm off. That's my time for the family. I take a break. Sunday, even God rested on the 7th day. Me too, I rest. I'm not 24/7, even though this weekend we have a big fashion event, but that's work. But when I take my tools down, it's tools down. No one can call me on Sunday morning. So you can't be BOing to people. Never let anyone own you like that. That's what I say. Someone calling you on Sunday morning, obviously in journalism, in film, it's a different projects. I'm not saying every time, but just be aware of yourself and your mental health. That's the most important. Sure. The world's first pidgin English opera is a show about a Nigerian fabled people. It's almost like Orisha, but it's not. There are people who are Mami Waters as well as they are spiritual people. They are the guardians of the galaxy, to use an expression. There is God, the all-faithful God, and the all-knowing God, omniscient, omnipotent. But below that, there are all these almost demigods that look after, let's say, this sector of the universe. And these people are singers. They sing opera. But they sing it with pidgin English. And you know, pidgin is a language that is known by most Nigerians, but it's a language that people shun and say, it's a bad language. But they speak pidgin in Hawaii. They speak pidgin in China. They speak pidgin, Old English Cockney is pidgin. American even is a form of pidgin because they yankified English. So what my wife has done, Helen Epega, she's also known as the Venus Bushfires. She's an Afrofuturist musician. She composes songs. So she put together this compilation, which is a pidgin English opera musical. And it's a show that lasts for about 45 minutes or an hour and a half. It depends if you're doing the short version or long version. So we have tenors, we have sopranos, we have violinists, we have kura player, and my wife plays something called the hang, which is like 2 tortoise-shell steel drums that sound like a harp. And she plays that and she sings. She's the main protagonist in this. And it's a drama about all these people that have come, the Meneme people, who are meant to look after the planet, but they lose their voice. So Earth is, because God is angry with them, the Earth, and says these people are rubbish. But the Meneme people say to God, please give them one more chance. They're not that bad. I know they're fighting, there's lots of wars, but give them another chance. So the lead Kanate of these Meneme people has to go to the Venus Bushfire, which is the heavenly celestial place, to bring the voice back, to sing Earth back into harmony. So it's a drama. And it kind of plays on our old cultural awareness in Africa and heritage of Nigeria of there are other beings. And you must have faith in your ancestors as well as in a God. And the deities, as we know in Yoruba, I think there are 7 deities. And these are very important cultural awareness that we try to give to children as well. I think the filmmaking in Nigeria is burgeoning. AFRIF, the African Film Festival, International Film Festival, is on now, which is a great show. I helped incept in 2010, many years ago. We had it in Port Harcourt. It was Governor Rotimi Amici that started that campaign, but it's going on very strongly now. Nollywood, as we call it, is being noticed by the international market. whether it's Netflix or Hollywood. I would like to tell you something actually, which is, I haven't divulged this for many years. My great uncle, whose name is Pa Orlando Martins, God rest his soul, was one of the first African actors in Hollywood. He acted in the 30s with people like Ronald Reagan, Katharine Hepburn, and Bob Hope. And he always played a part as an African prince or chief. He was never like denigrated or made into a lower African slave or anything. And I think that instilled something in my mind with this film industry. I think it's very important that Nigeria, as it is, we have some great actors like Wale Ojo and Ramsey Noah. They are playing part in producing their own shows, and it's very important. Like in America, you obviously have people like Mel Gibson, Robert De Niro, who have produced their own films as well. That Nigerians are not just actors or technicians, they are also producers and directors. It's very important that we have that link within our industry, and we make friends and we forge relationships, not just with Hollywood. There's Bollywood, the Indian industry, and there's also China, because China's film industry is massive. Technically, I think that just as big as Hollywood. So we must look to ourselves in Africa as well. There's some great film makers from Zimbabwe, South Africa, Ghana, and I think collaboration I always use collaboration because I would not be here without collaboration. Obviously, my wife, you collaborate with your spouse, but also my businesses. I have very good English business partner. He's really a business partner. I've started a new business. I collaborate with all kinds of industries and different sectors. So because people want to know about Nigeria. In Africa, they love Nollywood stories, and that's a fact. And we can expand by using distribution. Distribution is key. Netflix, all the Hollywood film houses, negotiate with them. Even if you don't get the best price for this show, make sure you check your contract, make sure you get it for your next film. So I think that's important, distribution. While I'm still alive, that's a very good question. Hope springs eternal with me, and I am optimistic about Nigeria. I think Nigeria is not what we all will think it will be. It's it's a country that needs to be more fluid. We have in diaspora a lot of powerful individuals and groups. I think we need to connect even more with those individuals and groups who need to invest in Nigeria. Our youth is very talented and is very able, but it's also very abundant. So we need to find a way to link up education, apprenticeship to these youth to give them something that is productive to work in. And that means expanding your mind as parents. It's not just doctors, lawyers, bankers that we need. We need artisans, we need creatives, and that's the most important point. It's a mind block. So for me, if we can work on Nigeria's mind psyche and the taboos of we don't want our child to marry a musician. You know, even as a musician, you don't just have to be a rapper. You could be a music engineer, you could be a filmmaker, you could be an engineer that works with the technical aspects of editing, you could be a designer. There's so many aspects. So I say to my utopian Nigeria, learn from your brothers and sisters. International research online is very important. And for me, the dream is to see Nigeria as a fluid country of strength in Africa, where we're trading with African countries and we're using what we have as our assets. Technically, of course, we need Europe and America and everything, but we have it in Africa. We have it in Nigeria. So my beauty of Nigeria would be if we become our own Wakanda, working with other African states and enhancing our own GDP as well as our region and our continent's GDP working together. Gosh, my favorite, what's the first one? Food. As you can see, I like my food. I like a mixture actually. I like amala. I like yams. I swallow very well. Whether it's with obonosu, that's very good. But also, from my mother's riverside, there's one okra, seafood okra that my mom used to make. And I still strive to find that. I go and find that whenever I go away. In London, you have some nice Nigerian restaurants, and in Lagos, of course, as across Nigeria. But nothing like home cooking. When my wife makes me a nice, I suppose she makes a egusi for me, eba, and that's my staple. My best music, I love Afrobeats, of course, but predominantly, I'm a Fela man. Ebenezer Obey. I like the old styles. And I also like Zaire music. There's high life that comes across Africa. But to be light to say I don't like Jimi Hendrix. I like Jimi Hendrix. He's a guitarist, a Native American, African-American guitarist. I love his kind of music. So those are my mainstays. And Gorillaz and De La Soul are still very great music of mine. Those are my Spotify at the moment. What was the other question? I like wrestling. They used to call it Gidigbo back in the day, Yoruba wrestling. I used to love that. I haven't seen that much lately, but I like Nigerian wrestling. Obviously, we play good football. We're great footballers as well, globally. But you said Nigerian sports. Polo. Nigeria, I like Nigerian polo as well. To my young brethren and children of Nigeria, I say it's important hard work. Hard work, research, and belief in yourself. Obviously, times are very tough at the moment, and money is tight. But with your own creativity, you can build your empire from there. I always believe that from one's mind, you can make worlds, and you shouldn't give up. Obviously, if you're not very great at one thing, you find what you are great at. But always be honest with yourself and treat others how you want to be treated. And remember, collaboration is the key or the little sister of success. And always have a smile. Very important. That's what I say.
From Dubai to Lagos, Nigeria, and across the globe, SOUQ News TV is your #1 station focusing on business, economy, and development. With global digital reach, we connect Africa's pulse to the world stage. Welcome to SOUQ News Television, and here we go beyond the headlines, from breaking news, in-depth conversational programs, to market analysis and indices. From policies affecting growth to unique documentaries, from live event coverage to bespoke productions, we deliver content that connects you to the world. At SOUQ News Television, we provide news surrounding business, economy, and development, infomercials and jingles that stand out, short and long-form documentaries crafted to international standards, independent production spaces with full technical support, special coverage for individual and corporate events, a special form of documentaries through our prestige package, Immortals, where we tell your story the way you'd love it, and business support services tailored for small enterprises. SOUQ News TV, powered by FemWatch Limited, also home to the Isle 95.9 FM Lagos and Kasua 99.7 FM Kano, and Emirate News Television Abuja, together forming Africa's trusted media powerhouse. Storytelling, coverage, and connection that matters. SOUQ News TV, your home for business, economy, and development.
Ojude Oba is the annual social cultural festival with the splendor and grandeur of the Ijebus on display at Ijebu-Ode, the capital city of Ijebuland. It is a nexus of cultural and sartorial elegance, social grace, and evocative dance steps that has attracted indigenous as well as local and foreign tourists over the years. It is a celebration of the enduring age-grade system called Regbe, platform of cultural identity and unity of the Ijebus, including those in the diaspora. From its origin in the 1880s as an Islamic faithful's salam message and visit to the Awujale of Ijebuland, the Ojude Oba Festival has transformed into an all-indigenous celebration filled with fun and laughter. I shall be looking at the economic and tourist attractions and potentials of this festival in view of its increasing global patronage and attention it is receiving right now. Credit for the transformative feats of social engineering concerning the Ojude Oba Festival must go to His Royal Majesty Oba Sikiru Kayode Adetono Ogbagba II, since ascending the throne of his forefathers in 1960. It is a case of an iconic traditional ruler creating an iconic legacy. This year's edition of Ojude Oba Festival was estimated to have attracted over 2 million people and several more millions of a global audience. The social media was agog in transmitting the grandeur of the occasion. As is usual, Ijebu-Ode experienced vehicular and human traffic gridlock, especially in the city center, where the Palace of the Awujale and the Palace Annex hosting the event are located. It is a measure of the economic derivative of the celebration of Ojude Oba that all hotels in Ijebu-Ode and environs were fully booked from Saturday, June 15, 2024 through to June 28 to Wednesday 19th, the day after. Food and drinks vendors also made boom sales, catering for the teeming patrons at the celebration. At the venue of the celebration, opposite the palace, the Awujale was resplendent in the majesty of his royal regalia, supported by other traditional rulers in Ijebu land, with Governor Dapo Abiodun of Ogun State, also an Ijebu, adorned in a desired native dress of sunshine colors that stood him out as a sartorial connoisseur. But then, in all good things, there are few contrary people sold to skepticism and negativism. The 2024 Ojude Oba Festival attracted such people who erroneously and mischievously described it as a fashion jamboree of no consequence to the welfare of the hosts and the environment. These skeptics and critics wondered why the Regberegbes should not offer scholarships, build health centers, and construct roads and boreholes. Some people even dismiss the Regberegbes outing at Ojude Oba Festival as a wasteful fashion extravaganza. In their anger, they wondered what a hell is this Ojude Oba Festival? What an empty hype. The coordinator of the 2024 Ojude Oba Festival, Chief Fasi Yusuf, told journalists that the Regberegbe had not only been feeding the people and educated the youths, as it were, but have also been providing infrastructural facilities. He described the Regberegbes as interventionist development agents, citing such instances of their interventions to include the 20 million naira renovation of the male surgical ward at the State Hospital in Ijebu-Ode, renovation of Nigerian Police Area Command Ekpeba, Ijebu-Ode, and building of police posts in different parts of the city. The 108-page Ojude Oba Festival 2024 brochure listed some of the other activities engaged by the various Regberegbes, as the resuscitation of the moribund School of Nursing and Midwifery Ijebu-Ode, scholarships to indigent students, construction of 4 blocks of classrooms at Omu Ajose Comprehensive High School, and 3 classroom blocks at Imososi Primary School, Agoiwoye. Other activities include the rehabilitation of roads, provision of boreholes and solar street lights, support to orphanages, homes, and homes for special needs, and free medical services for indigents. Chief Fasi Yusuf, who is the Bagbimo of Ijebu-Ode and Secretary to the Awujale Council of Chiefs, stressed that it had become imperative to enlighten skeptics about the extensive ramifications of the Regberegbes as a unique, populist, social, cultural, economic platform where services were provided for the community and also for members. He pointed out that the Regberegbes had become unifying and uplifting platforms with the enhancement of the well-being of members, financial and health-wise, considered collective responsibilities of the age group, where investment loans, payment of hospital bills of sick members, and donation to families of deceased members are made. Talking personally and professionally after my private investigation, interaction, and discussion, I will say categorically clearly that the glees and colors associated with the Ojude Oba Festival is outside the ranks of any cultural festival in Nigeria. What Nigeria advertises to the world in Ojude-Oba is cultural elegance and communal cohesion. It is this cultural elegance that is being proposed as a tourism potential and strength for Ojude-Oba Festival as a major global tourist destination. For instance, Morocco, Africa's top tourism destination with 13.2 million tourists in 2023, has its vibrant culture as its selling point. Egypt, which is placed second with 11.5 million tourists, has its ancient wonders of the pyramid and the Valley of Kings as its attraction. While for 8th place Kenya, with 2.6 million tourists, the premium is its wildlife safaris. Nigeria, ranked 68th in the World Tourism Index, attracted only 518,000 tourists in 2021 from the latest figures available from the United Nations World Tourism Organization. This demands that Nigeria needs to create and promote a tourism policy and strategy with a properly packaged Ojude-Oba Festival as a potential tourism money spinner to tap into the gold mine of its 1.3 billion global tourists in 2023 that generated revenues of $4 trillion, according to the United Nations World Tourism Organization. The Ojude-Oba Festival should be funded, supported, and promoted to rank with the world's leading tourism destinations. These destinations include Disney World in Florida, in the United States of America, California, also in America, Cancun in Mexico, the safaris in Kenya, Paradise Fund in Mauritius, the aquatic jewel of the Indian Ocean, and the historic Colosseum in Rome, Italy. We in Nigeria need to appreciate and celebrate our culture as our patriotic, passionate contribution to global tourism. And the Ojude-Oba Festival is such a sellable cultural event. My name is Bayo Olaoye.
We've got just what you need right here at SOUQ Media. Call it the Midas Touch, and you wouldn't be wrong. Let us record, produce, mix, and master your audio like nobody does. Reach us on our contact today for the best quality job.
From Dubai to Lagos, Nigeria, and across the globe, SOUQ News TV is your #1 station focusing on business, economy, and development. With global digital reach, we connect Africa's pulse to the world stage. Welcome to SOUQ News Television, and here we go beyond the headlines. From breaking news, in-depth conversational programs, to market analysis and indices. From policies affecting growth to unique documentaries, from live event coverage to bespoke productions, we deliver content that connects you to the world. At SOUQ News Television, we provide news surrounding business, economy, and development, infomercials and jingles that stand out, short and long-form documentaries crafted to international standards, independent production spaces with full technical support, special coverage for individual and corporate events, a special form of documentaries through our prestige package, Immortals, where we tell your story the way you'd love it, and business support services tailored for small enterprises. SOUQ News TV, powered by FemiWatch Limited, also home to the Isle 95.9 FM Lagos and Kasua 99.7 FM Kano, and Emirate News Television Abuja, together forming Africa's trusted media powerhouse. Storytelling, coverage, and connection that matters. SOUQ News TV, your home for business, economy, and development.
The story of Ile-Ife. Ile-Ife, often described as the spiritual heart of the Yoruba people, is not just a city. It is the cradle of identity, civilization, and belief for millions across West Africa. Located in present-day Osun State, Ile-Ife is revered in Yoruba tradition as the place where life began and where the gods descended to create the earth. Archaeological findings, however, suggest the city's origins date back to between the 8th and 11th centuries CE. making it one of the oldest continuously inhabited urban centers in sub-Saharan Africa. According to Yoruba mythology, Oduduwa is regarded as the progenitor of the Yoruba race and the first ruler of Ile-Ife. All traditions say he founded the kingdom, from which many Yoruba monarchs trace their descent. His legacy symbolizes unity and divine kingship among the Yoruba. Centuries later, under the reign of Obalufon II, believed to have ruled in the 14th century, Ile-Ife experienced a golden era marked by exceptional artistic and technological achievements. This period produced the world-famous Ife bronze and terracotta heads, celebrated for their realism and craftsmanship. Scholars have described these artifacts as evidence of an advanced mythological culture that rivaled any in medieval Europe or Asia. Recent archaeological discoveries at Igbo Olokun, near Ile-Ife, revealed ancient glass bead production sites, one of the earliest in sub-Saharan Africa. The finds, led by researchers such as Professor Adisa Ogunfolakon and Dr. Babalola Abidemi, confirm that the people of Ife were skilled innovators in trade and material science. Beyond its material legacy, Ile-Ife remains a sacred and living symbol of Yoruba spirituality. Its monarch, the Ooni of Ife, is still regarded as a custodian of tradition and a spiritual bridge between the people and their ancestral heritage. According to Bayo Laoye, a veteran journalist with SOUQ News Television, the story of Ile-Ife is not merely about the past, but about continuity. Ife tells us how knowledge, art, and belief shape the destiny of a people. It is a reminder that civilization in Africa didn't begin with contact from outside. It grew from within. Today, Ile-Ife continues to attract scholars, tourists, and spiritual pilgrims from around the world, all drawn by the enduring mystery of the source. I'm Moyosore Adebi for SOUQ News TV.
Hello Lagos, make we yarn.
Hello, boy, if this POS matter, don't pass your boy. Person go swipe, alert no enter. Before you know it, jump.
Wait, wetin really happen?
Maybe you fake alert the warriors.
Okay, so mona listen, if you dey do POS business, no expose your alert.
Hello, Ogbefi. They don't walk that bar road where they warrior for our local government for years.
This one sweet me, I no lie you. Because you know what, development wey dey work, it deserve loudspeaker. Now why we dey here be that? For here, we no dey abuse, we dey bring solution. My name, it is Ikechukwu Oyemike, aka Ogbefi Ishegwari.
Make we yarn every weekday from 10 a.m. go to 12 o'clock on Top the Eye 95.9 FM.
Across Africa, something is always rising. A shop opens before sunrise, a laptop glowing in a small apartment, a factory floor humming with stubborn hope. We are a continent of builders, dreamers with spreadsheets, visionaries with limited data and unlimited belief. But dreams are fragile. They can trend today and disappear tomorrow. They can go viral and go under because starting a business is a spark. Sustaining it is a slow, steady fire. In markets where power flickers, policies shift, currencies stretch thin, resilience is not optional, it is survival. Strategy is not luxury, it is oxygen. So, what does it really mean to build a business that lasts in Africa? Not just loud growth, but rooted growth. Not just expansion, but endurance. Today on Just Africa, we look beyond applause and ambition. We talk about structure, patience, discipline, and the quiet strength it takes to build something that will outlive the moment. Because Africa does not just need more startups, it needs legacies in motion. Welcome to Just Africa on SOUQ News Television. I am Omevi Idolor. And before we go on, I have an amazing person with me in the studio, but before I let the cat out of the bag, we'll go on this quick break. And when we return, you will meet him. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Yeah, welcome back to Just Africa on SOUQ News Television. Please do well to follow us on all our social media platforms at SOUQ News TV and subscribe to the Just Africa show. Our conversation today focuses on actionable guidance for founders, including strategic planning, brand development, market positioning, and resilience in the face of challenges. Our guest, Ikechukwu Justin Geoffrey, brings over a decade of experience in marketing communications, creative strategy, and campaign execution for leading organizations. As a mentor with the Tony Elumelu Foundation Entrepreneurship Program, he has guided numerous African entrepreneurs in building sustainable and high-impact businesses. Ikechukwu combines operational expertise, strategic thinking, and a deep understanding of brand storytelling to help founders achieve visibility, trust, and growth. Ladies and gentlemen, I have Ikechukwu with me in the studio. Once again, welcome to Just Africa.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I hope you're good.
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for having me.
And I know you're ready to tell us what it means to run a business in Africa.
Yeah,
okay, so first of all, when we say sustainability in the African context, what does that mean?
Okay, thank you very much. Sustainability, you know, it's something that lasts for a very long time. You know, you don't just start a business that collapses in the next 2 years or in the next 5 years or in the next 10 years. Something that will last for as long as possible, that we even outlive the founder.
Yeah.
You understand? So that's what we mean by sustainable business. So business must be built to outlive the founders, such that power and leadership can be transferred. Okay? Any business that cannot outlive the founders or the current management, that means there's no structure yet. There's no system that can make it sustainable. So what we should be thinking when we come to business, running a business, is to make sure that what happens in the next 20 years from now, if I'm not here? What happens in the next 50 years from now, if I'm not here? And that's why you see some businesses that have been there for the past 20 years, 50 years, 100 years. You keep wondering, how did they do it? How did they do it? Because they put certain structures and systems in place. And that is why you see a change of CEO, change of COO over time as the years pass. And these businesses are still there for a very long time. Even when they encounter challenges, you know, maybe financial challenges or maybe change of policy in the economy, you still see them that somehow they were able to, maneuver through and still keep going. So that means sustainability, sustainable business, something that lasts, for quite a long time, as much as possible, So that's what we should be looking at. When we start businesses, can it outlive us? Okay, so that's it.
Okay, I love the explanation. So clear and straightforward. But most startups, they believe that it is visibility that makes their business to outlive the founder at some point. Now, my question is, do you think visibility is more important, or planning for visibility is more important than planning for stability?
Okay, so visibility is important, but you can't be, you cannot be pushing for visibility when the business is not stable. So visibility is not enough. You can't be pushing what's not strong, what's not standardized.
Okay.
Okay, so what we'll talk about first, we'll talk about stability first. If your business is stable, because if your business has visibility and then a customer walks in and the customer service is messed up, no system, no proper documentation, no, everything is like done anyhow, you know, anyhow kind of system.
Okay.
I'm not going to come back. I'm not going to come back. Okay? So as much as you want to make your business visible, which is what is encouraged, of course, you have to let people know what your business is doing. You have to let people know the kind of offer you have and how you are addressing their pain points and how you are creating value, you know. That is necessary, and every business is encouraged to do that.
Okay.
But first of all, you have to make sure that you achieve stability first. Put structures in place. Put systems in place. If that doesn't happen, whatever you are pushing out there, it's not going to last. And by the time people keep coming and, you know, they'll find out that there is something that is not right about the business because it's not yet structured. There's no system in place. That's what we call standard operating system.
Okay.
Okay. There are structures in place that I have to put, you know, as a business. And that's what keeps you going. Put that in place first. Let the business be stable.
Now, when you say standard of structure, what are they exactly?
Okay, so I'll talk about first a good business model.
Okay.
Because you cannot run a business without having a good business model. A good business model is like the blueprint of your business. It's like a vision board that articulates the various aspects of your business, okay? So if you have a good business model will talk about your value proposition.
Okay.
What are you offering? And what makes you better than your competitors?
Yes.
Okay? Then it will have your customer segment. Who are you selling to? Okay? Do you even understand their pain points? What value are you creating to meet those pain points? Then customer relationship. How are you going to engage them? How are you going to relate with them to make them feel that beyond collecting their money, you care about them? How are you going to engage them to make sure that they consistently see value in what you do? Then you talk about channels. What channels are you going to use to reach out to your customers?
Yeah.
Where do they spend their time? Is it via social media? Is it on TV? Is it on radio? Is it outdoor? So these are what you articulate. Then you talk about as well your key activities. What are you actually doing? Your key activities to bring about the product or service that you are selling, you know. So what are your key activities? These are the things that your business model will articulate, you know. Then you talk about your key partners. Who are the people that you are collaborating with to bring about this product to market or to bring about this service, to deliver this service? Are there alliances? Are there vendors? You know, are there people that you're collaborating with to make sure that you bring about this? So that's very key. And then you talk about a revenue stream.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you make money? Because at the end of the day, the bottom line is
it's profit.
It's profit. You know, revenue. From there, you know, remove your costs, and then you talk about your profit. Then again, you have to talk about the cost. What does it cost to produce this, or what does it cost to deliver this service? So you find out that your business model is very important. First of all, if you have a good business model, it will guide every other activity around your business. Your operations, your product, your production, your marketing, and every other thing is guided by your business model. So every business should have a good business model because it's a blueprint. It's like a map. This is where we are going to. This is what articulates the essence of our business. So that's very important.
So most businesses, statistics has it that most businesses die within their 5 years.
5 years.
You understand? So are you saying that these businesses that die, they do not have the models, some of the things you just mentioned in business, or let's say the right business model right now?
Okay, yeah, some of them had it.
Okay.
No doubt, but it can also be weak because if you do not clearly articulate it, then it might not be able to go far because your business model is weak. You do not, you have not really studied, checked what works and what does not work. Then another thing that could have also happened that maybe why they folded in 5 years.
Yes.
Or folded in 2 years could be lack of financial discipline. Yes. Because every business has to be careful about their finances. Because it's easy to get a funding of 10 million, 100 million, 500 million, and then you think you have all the money now, and so you start spending recklessly.
Yeah.
You start hiring too fast, fill up everywhere, and before you know it, the money is gone. And then you start asking, what happened? I've seen instances of where businesses, you say, they had how much funding, and before you know what is happening, everything is gone. And I have a friend, sometime last year, the company asked some of them to go because they said, we don't have much money anymore. That's frustration, right?
Okay.
So, but it would have been possible for them to, manage their resources better, such that even in the next 5 years, they could still be operational. Because you have to manage your cash flows.
Yeah.
How do your expenses, it must not go beyond your revenue. When it goes beyond your revenue, that's loss.
Yeah.
But if your expenses are below, maybe your fixed costs, your variable costs below your revenue, you're talking about profit.
Yeah.
So financial discipline, you have to be frugal. You have to really be frugal because if you are not, you're going to be messed up.
Okay, so apart from being financially disciplined in business, from your experience as a mentor at the Tony Elumelu Foundation, what do you think businesses that survive more than 5 years, what do you think they do that kept them afloat, apart from just being financially disciplined? Because I think it's more than
structure and systems. Your operations has to be guided by structure. That's why I said you don't want a business that we can describe as anything goes. When you run a business where anything goes, you're going to get into trouble. So there should be some standard. There should be some systems and structures put in place.
Yeah.
How is this done? How is that done? And as you progress, you make changes, looking at prevailing situations, maybe internal situations, external situations, can warrant you making some changes. But then you're going to keep everybody informed that this is why we are going this direction, or this is why we are going the other direction. But if you don't have a standard operating system, a system and structure in place that every employee, managers, and everyone is going to, follow and is going to be aware of that this is the direction we are going to, then you are just going to be hustling.
So I'm going to
You're just going to be hustling instead of, strategizing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you talk about changing direction or making some changes, how long should you try something? How long should you try, okay, let's try this process before and notice, okay, maybe it's working, maybe it's not working. How long should you try before making those changes?
Okay.
Because we've seen businesses that every now and then they change policies. They're not stable when it comes to policies. Maybe they've tried 2 months, maybe they tried 6 months, maybe they tried 1 year. So how long can a business try a particular process before saying, let's change it?
Okay, so I'm not going to give a definite or a specific number of years. The likes of Dangote did not find it easy. There were times when they went through tough times. They went through tough times. And you see them today succeeding and doing great things. You're like, wow,